Oh, hey Isaac, what are you doing?
Booty, 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 booty,
What? What?
booty. The shape,
Isaac,
density, tension. The booty.
Isaac, your eyes are moving real weird.
He's packing heat. He's bringing the farm. Booty, booty,
It's
booty.
it's weirdly hypnotic. Your eyes are turning into your. Are those your? What is that?
Booty, 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 rocking everywhere.
Alessio,
Sam, I had to run to Seattle as soon as I could. What's going on?
look.
A booty, 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 a booty, 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 booty,
Oh
booty,
my
booty, booty,
God.
booty, booty,
I've heard of
booty,
this,
booty.
Sam. It's Solid Snake booty obsession. Classic case. We gotta hurry.
Booty. I know. Booty, booty, tooty, footy, hooty, mushy, mushy, tooshy, tooshy, woochy, booty, 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 tooty,
Our
tooty.
sweet boy.
Booty, 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 booty. I'll become the shape, the holy shape. My whole body will become a booty like his booty.
No, Sam, we're too late.
Booty.
I can't look away.
He just turned his whole body into an ass. What do we do?
Booty, 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 booty.
What? Alessio, what did you say?
Booty, 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 booty.
No!
Ladies, gentlemen, boys, and girls, welcome to episode number 81 of Metal Gear Mondays, the Metal Gear Book Club Games Club podcast, where we cover all things Metal Gear Solid, Metal Gear related, Metal Gear adjacent, from top to bottom, left to right, inside and out, in pseudo-historical recreational order. As always, I'm your host, Alessio Summerfield, and I have some spooky boys on the podcast. Who do I have?
Sam Wright, and this week I'm sponsored by Almond Joy.
Nice.
Wednesday is Halloween. Halloween in 2 days, and I'm sponsored by this real fucking delicious Almond Joy. Again, podcast not sponsored by Almond Joy. I'm sponsored by Almond Joy.
And I've got
This
Isaac.
is Isaac, and I would like to say Almond Joys suck.
Dude, why are you always stepping on my candy skis, man?
Mounds for life.
I'm a Mounds
man.
man.
Mounds boy.
Mounds don't have almonds in them.
Exactly.
Yes,
God damn it,
I love
Isaac.
almonds. Yeah, so welcome to another spooky episode of the show. This will be the last spooky episode officially for the spooky season, although if you listen to the last episode, episode number 80, covering Silent Hill 2, you will know that we are doing a transitional title, so we have shifted. The listener episode will be episode 82, coming out a Monday after this, and then after the listener response episode, we'll be covering in a two-part 83-84, Castlevania Lords of Shadow. That is technically not Spooky Month, that's just us covering a game. I'm not really sure why the label matters, but it does. So
Yeah, don't put labels on these things.
yeah. So and then we'll transition straight out of episode 84 into 85, covering Escape from New York. And there it is. But yeah, so this week we have no news because we're recording this the exact same day that we covered Silent Hill 2, which if you're
I've got
paying
some
attention to
news.
the runtime, this is a fucking marathon. Go ahead, Sam.
That Almond Joy was a lot easier to eat than the Reese's Pieces were.
And I redact my statement. I do like Almond Joys. I'm just trying to mess
Wow. Wow.
with Sam's game.
That's great.
Thanks, Isaac.
Yeah, appreciate you, boys. But yeah, so if you are joining us, we are officially, technically, finally, a book club. We just went ahead and fucking did it. We just spiraled into a book club.
Are we mad and bad?
I don't know. We're not the Mad Bad Book Club. We are the scared, stiff manga boys.
Grossed out, very uncomfortable book club.
Yeah, I got to take a shower.
Yeah.
I wish. So we did not. It dawned on me we did not fucking talk about this last episode whatsoever. James is not here currently.
Oh.
And he wasn't on the last episode. If you got
Well,
all the
he
way through
wasn't.
that.
He was in spirit because the main character was James. We were gonna do like this whole joke that
Oh,
like
man.
we were gonna refer to James in the game as Dustin the entire time.
Because that's James's
And-
real first name,
Yeah, and it
not the character, the
didn't-
human.
Yeah, the human, our human James, and it wouldn't have been the same without James on the podcast. So thanks,
He's here.
James.
He's here in spirit.
I'm kidding. I
Yeah,
love
Jesus.
you. Don't.
But yeah, so James is out
Love
due
it,
to personal things. But he actually was there for all of Silent Hill 2, just quietly sitting in the background. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. But yeah, so this week we're covering a manga, Junji Ito's Uzumaki.
Uzumaki,
I have no music to put to any of this, so I can't really do any transitions into anything.
Does the movie have a soundtrack?
Oh, there you go.
Oh,
So I'm gonna
do it.
cue movie music right here. And we're back.
So-
That's crazy.
Uzumaki translates to spiral,
Correct.
which I didn't know when I was reading it. I should have realized it halfway sometime.
How do you mean? You mean the singular vision of this whole fucking story?
Yeah. You mean the only thing that's actually important in the fucking manga?
Yeah.
But who would have thought?
I don't. So based on the reading that I'm doing right now, it seems as if Junji Ito himself started getting obsessed with spirals in order to research to write this book, and then
Oh,
decided
no.
to use his obsession to write about spirals.
That's real weird.
Yeah, so apparently, based on the development notes that I've got here, so the whole thing, which is fucking astounding to me, was written and illustrated by Junji Ito, like himself.
Holy crap.
He wrote it and he drew all of it.
Who is this man?
Yeah, he's nuts. So his initial desire apparently was to come up with a story about the weird changes that occur in people's lives. Primarily for his story, he wanted to put them in a traditional Japanese house. And so he started to research architecture, and he wanted to come up with a cool building design. So he was inspired by the shape of mosquito coils to build a building that was in a spiral shape, and then he became very obsessed with spirals. And then he decided to just write about spirals. Very weird.
Interesting.
Very fucking weird.
Junji Ito feels like a very strange man.
Yeah, so real quick to tie everything back into Metal Gear, Junji Ito was supposed to work on Silent Hills. Guillermo del Toro has stated that Junji Ito is a huge inspiration on his work. And so Guillermo had been courting Junji Ito to work on Silent Hills, and so Junji Ito was sort of the third directorial contributor who was trying to be a part of that project before it got canceled. So, yeah, so this is us covering some of his work. And holy shit, this guy is really good at short, creepy stories. I wanted James desperately to be on this podcast because James actually had read a manga forever ago, which he did not really realize at the time, about some kids who feel drawn to a mountain with holes in it. And then people
Oh,
go
this sounds
into the
familiar.
holes because they feel that the holes are calling to them. And then they come out the holes all fucked up and weird. And it was a short story as part of an anthology. And when I was doing some research to try and figure out what this was, because James goes, oh, it really reminds me of Uzumaki now that I'm reading Uzumaki. And I realized that the story that James was talking about is actually another Junji Ito story.
Well, dang.
Let me see if I can pull it up. The artwork is also beautiful for the short story. And I found somebody uploaded all of it on Imgur. Oh, so it's the very first thing that comes up. If you type in Junji Ito Holes Mountain, it's called The Enigma of Amigara Fault. And somebody uploaded the whole manga to Imgur.
Interesting.
Very, very weird. But yeah, Junji Ito is, I would describe him as both an artist with an eye for beauty who can draw very beautiful artwork, who also is really fucking creepy. His brain goes to some scary places, you guys. That's pretty much. Yeah,
When I was reading this, I was like, "Oh, this is very Japanese."
Oh yeah, this
I
is like
can-
very, very Japanese. Yeah, so real quick, just to give a little bit more context as well. So this started appearing as a serial. I believe it was just like each chapter, one at a time, in the manga magazine Big Comic Spirits from 1998 to 1999. Eventually, the chapters were all compiled into 3 different volumes, which is how Sam and Isaac read it, by Shoga Kukan, and published in August of 98 and September of 99. And then March of 2000, Shoga Kukan released an omnibus edition. And then later, North America would receive a version, I believe, in the early 2000s, maybe? No. Viz Media published it in, looks like October 2007 to February 2008. And then the hardcover version, which is what I have, came out October of 2013. So the way that I came about this was I had known about Junji Ito for a while, and a lot of people were like, hey, Uzumaki is the best thing that he's ever done. And then actually Watch Out for Fireballs, their sister podcast, Bonfireside Chat, actually covered this. They did like a manga season on like Berserk and a couple other manga. And they covered Uzumaki as part of their like Dark Souls inspired manga season. And their thing was fucking awesome. And I was like, this sounds crazy. I want to read this. And then for my 29th birthday, which was a couple weeks ago, my dad gave me the hardcover edition as a gift. And I tore through it in 2 nights and then immediately picked up a phone and texted the boys and was like, you have to fucking read this. This is insanity. And then it worked out. So here we are.
Yeah.
This is what we're doing.
We did it.
Yeah. Have you guys read manga before?
Cool.
Very sparingly. Like
Hello?
my concept of manga is like those really long running series. They're like 30 or 40 books, and I don't want to touch those. But I've read like this kind of manga I like, and that goes to like all comic books too. I like the concise.
Yeah, like
just-
not like soap opera-y. Just
Right.
Like very-
Yeah. You. It has a beginning. It has an ending. It has a story. And I like that. Whereas you got like all these issues that go for decades sometimes, and it's just like never ending. And I'm like, ugh, I don't want to get into that.
Like Naruto. Like as much as I like
Yeah.
Naruto, it went and then it had the Shippuden and then it ended and now there's another one called Boruto that's continuing the story. It's just there's so much.
It's too much.
Which is crazy because like Junji Ito has been able to support himself doing these like very specific works, and so it's weird to me that people like Akira Toriyama have to be like, I'm putting out a fucking million Dragon Ball books forever. And it's like, I don't understand. Like, if it's from a financial standpoint, like, I guess, but like, if Junji Ito is able to support himself without doing that, why do you have to do that?
Well, it feels like that discussion we had too about video game makers being forced to like do the short, like bite-sized games and make an experience. Like it feels like an exact same situation.
Yeah, and that is the beauty of Uzumaki is that yes, it is 3 volumes or one big hardcover edition or whatever, but I would argue that like each chapter kind of stands alone. Like you can read each chapter like they're ghost stories.
They kind of like build off of each other. So yeah, you can take them as is, but then if you read them in succession, they kind of like build and snowball one after the other until it
In increasingly horrific ways.
Yeah, if you read them all at once, the only question that kept popping into my head was, why the fuck are these people still in this town?
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah, like I get it. I mean, they explain it. They're like, oh, the town kind of became sequestered from the rest of the world, but holy shit, man, I would have been out of that motherfucker like volume 1. I would have been like, I'm
I would
out.
have like attempted
the first,
to get out.
Yeah, the first incident.
Real quick, just to kind of solidify the sort of cultural shift that this has. So it is a fictional city. It's Koruzo-cho.
But it has a couple translations, but Dark Town, Closed Town, and Black Spiral Town are among the translations. Yeah.
I do love that in Japanese everything translates to like 3 or 4 things. So the level of which you can do puns is amazing.
Right.
But the thing that's crazy about this that apparently shocked a lot of, like the reason why it was considered super scary in Japan is because a lot of the spiral imagery that he kind of, I guess, perverts, for lack of a better word, they're all things that in Japanese culture are typically like sacred or symbols that are positively portrayed. So like snails and stuff like that are sort of looked at as like honored creatures. And the fact that Ito is like making all of these sort of more positively portrayed things like super fucked up makes it even creepier for Japanese audiences. But yeah, it's crazy. Real quick, just to kind of round this out, the manga was adapted into 2 video games for the Wonder Swan, only in Japan. And then a Japanese live-action film was directed by Haijun Shinsuke. The manga also received a bunch of positive reviews. For the English version, it was nominated for an Eisner Award in 2003, and it placed in the Young Adult Library Services Association's list of the top 10 graphic novels for teens in 2009. Why the fuck?
For teens?
Yeah, excuse me?
Jesus.
I want to see like a high school English teacher try to shift this and be like, this is actually a metaphor for your developing bodies.
Oh God, I hope not.
Yeah, holy shit.
That would make me if this was presented to me in like middle school as like this is a good metaphor for your developing body. I think I would never have sex or touch my anything.
Oh yeah, I would just kill myself.
Ever.
It's also should be noted that Ito himself has noted that H.P. Lovecraft was a major inspiration. He said that the way that everything kind of gradually spirals out of control, for lack of a better way of putting that, is akin to the way that Lovecraft tells his stories with his short-form fiction. So a direct quote from him is, Lovecraft's expressionism with regard to atmosphere greatly inspired my creative impulse. So, interesting. But yeah, Junji Ito is kind of amazing. I am very surprised that more of his shit has not been adapted. And I'm very surprised that the English version of a feature film got canceled for this. It never got made.
Are you surprised though?
I'm not.
I
It's
kind of
fucking
wish.
horrifying.
I'm kind of glad it did.
Yeah, I'm very scared to see how Silent Hills would have turned out because I read this. I don't think I could play it. Like, it's too scary.
Well, I mean, because he designed the creatures in Survive, right?
No. You're thinking of Masahiro Ito.
Masahiro Ito. Okay.
But yeah. So Junji Ito was apparently working on the story as well for Silent Hills with Guillermo and Kojima. Yeah.
Oh, that would have been. Whew.
Talk about too much.
Yeah.
But the crazy part is, like, even as you're reading this, like, it does such a good job of slowly building the tension that like it doesn't. It's weird. Like, if you flip through, you're like, wow, this looks like it gets fucking grotesque. But if you're reading it, like, it just slowly builds.
Yeah, because it's not it's not scary. It's just like really fucking disturbing.
Like deeply unsettling. Yeah. I will say, both for Masahiro Ito and Junji Ito, I do not understand how these motherfuckers can go to bed at night.
Yeah, for real.
Masahiro Ito notably said in an interview, I do not have nightmares.
Jesus.
So I don't know if that means he doesn't actually have nightmares or if that means that he views his nightmares as dreams.
I wonder if the movie's any good. I'm a little afraid to watch it because, like, the manga's
don't
like
look
grotesque
great.
enough.
Everything I've read has said it's just disappointing. Like the way it portrays it is not the greatest.
I get that manga is primarily visual, but I think at the same time, especially whenever I was reading this, it's still so evocative to your imagination that, like, the space between the frames is just as important as the frames themselves. And so I feel like a movie would not be able to do it justice. You know what I mean? Like, your imagination can still run away with you, even though it's a manga.
I would like them to try, because this seems like it would be intense as a movie if well done.
Yeah. I will say I've read tons of manga paperback. This was the first time I ever read a hardback manga. Holy fuck, does flipping from left to right instead of right to left suck with a hardback book? Because it's like, it's just hard to hold. Like, it feels like it's like very thick. Like, the omnibus is like fucking 700 pages or something crazy. So it's very hard to hold and flip with my least dominant hand, if that makes sense. Also, I forgot several times. Like, it does one of those things where, like, if you're an American reader or an English-speaking reader, when you flip from left to right, my eyes naturally gravitate towards the opposite page that I'm supposed to be looking at.
Right.
And so I felt like every time I would turn the page, I would, like, accidentally look at the crazy shit first and be like, whoa, what just happened? And then I'd have to, like, retrace my steps. But, yeah.
Jesus.
Sorry. Had you guys heard about this or heard about him at all before the assignment came through The Wire?
I'd heard of Uzumaki before this, but I had never like really looked into what it is. I've never really been like a big manga person. I've always been more of an anime person.
Gotcha.
I have a very limited like experience with manga.
It's interesting how many great anime started as manga primarily first. Because I will say, I believe even like the FLCL manga might have come before the anime did. And I know some of the other things started as manga before being adapted. So yeah, I don't know what it is. I love manga art style, like the black and white. My copy of the omnibus did have color pages kind of scattered throughout, but I prefer the black and white.
Yeah, the PDFs that you I'm sorry. The source that I got,
the dark web PDF.
It was like the first couple pages of each chapter were colored.
Yeah, were in color. Yeah.
But yeah, if you saw a picture of Junji Ito, he would not look like he looks like a very welcoming, well-kept young man.
That's what he wants you to think.
The weirdest ones are.
It's true. It's true. For the purposes of this podcast, we're going to be kind of going through the book chapter by chapter. There are 19 official chapters with a 20th lost chapter. And I'm not quite sure what the story is with the lost chapter. I think it might have just been a story that was constructed and written that just didn't fit with the trajectory. And so it just kind of got pulled out separately. But I believe that the lost chapter kind of fits in somewhere before the Black Lighthouse and after the snail, if I remember correctly. But yeah, the hardback copy that I've got does not really have a lot of text or a lot of like background information. It just kind of dives in. So
better to grab you.
Yeah, you get introduced to Kyrie.
Yeah,
Sweet baby
let's
Kyrie.
let's talk about the premise and the characters. So, like Sam said, Kyrie. Who are the others?
Shuichi,
Yep.
who is her boyfriend.
He goes to high school in a different town, though. His family lives in this town.
Which is why I was so confused about why they couldn't leave, because he clearly leaves
Yeah, I think
to go to school.
I think they established pretty early on, though, that like
it was like the black spiral going to the lake that triggered everything,
yeah,
or something like that.
yeah. So spooky, very spooky. But yeah, so the premise is like Kyrie is telling us that something very creepy is happening in her small town and that she wants to tell us the story, which I'm assuming the best read of this is that if she's telling us the story in retrospect is that they do somehow make it out or are able to get the story out, if we're being optimistic. I think the realistic read is that this ends poorly for everyone.
Yeah, I think maybe it started off because we were talking about how the chapters kind of are standalone, but towards the end they all start to blend together and all the weird stuff starts happening that like happened earlier in the chapters, and it kind of turns into more of like a continuation. Like the last like 4 or 5 chapters kind of are a continuation of each other. So I feel like maybe it started off where she was telling the story up to like maybe like chapter 15 or whatever chapter it is, and then like them actually finally trying to escape from and all the labyrinth stuff is like caught up.
Yeah.
That was my take on it, at least.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, it's creepy from fucking start to finish, man. Like even the opening panel is like, look at the spirals and the plants outside of this town.
Yeah, it's very spooky and weird.
Yeah. I really enjoy it, though. And as a matter of fact, this has now scarred me to the point where, like, I can't even look at Jerry's tail.
Oh, no. Don't. Now you tell me that.
Now he's not going to
Thanks
be
a
able to look
lot.
at Frank's tail anymore.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to cut it off.
Those boys. Dude,
Don't cut it off.
I'm really upset that there were no Shibas in this book.
That would have been.
Why are you upset about that? You'd like your dog ruined more than it already is?
No, sweet Jerry. Isaac, I don't know if you knew about this. I'm trying to think of what the word is. Oh, it's Urajiro. Do you know about the Urajiro of Shiba Inu?
Saiyan? No, I don't think I do.
Urajiro is
Ura.
the technical term for the like white underbelly and the white in their tail and like the white in their face. So like the sort of like the dipped part that looks like they got dipped in white paint.
Yeah.
It's officially called the Urajiro.
Oh, that's interesting. I like that.
It has a name. But yeah, it's like around their mouth, their eyes, their legs, and their tail.
Yeah.
Welcome to Shiba Gear Sunday.
Huh.
Yeah, welcome to Shiba Inu Sundays.
So I'm reading about it, and it says Urajiro, it's the required white markings on a Shiba.
The required.
So yeah, in order for it to be considered a Shiba, it has to have the white markings.
Yeah, speaking of manga and tying it all together, it blew my fucking mind. I realized that the Inu in Shiba Inu, which translates Inu as dog,
Yeah.
that Inu is the same as the beginning of Inuyasha.
Yeah.
He's a dog boy,
Dog-
like a dog man.
Man.
So is like Shiba Prefecture? Like, is that where that comes from?
No,
or?
so Shiba translates to brushwood.
Yeah.
Brushwood
Like
dog.
the color.
Yep. Also, I found out. Sorry that this is legitimately becoming Shiba Inu Sundays.
Nah, dude, I
I
love it.
found out that the black and tan Shiba, aka
Yeah.
Jerry, black and tan Shibas are actually the youngest breed of Shiba because they were engineered genetically from 3 other types of Shiba.
Oh.
So they were like bred specially to create those colors, so they are not naturally happening colors.
So what was your color? What was your color scheming for them? The marshmallow thing.
Oh yeah, it was a lightly toasted marshmallow, well toasted marshmallow, and burnt marshmallow. Jerry's a burnt
It's a good marshmallow.
So Jerry's a burnt marshmallow and Frank is a well toasted marshmallow, right?
Yeah. I think technically Shibas come in 3 colors. It's cream, red. Red is the Doge color. And then the third color is the black and tan.
You will most commonly recognize red Shibas as Doge.
It's crazy, man. Shiba didn't not even fucking come to the United States until the late 90s.
That's
or no,
crazy.
excuse me. Late 70s was the first registered Shiba in America, and it was in San Francisco.
Of course.
But Shiba did not become like distributed throughout the United States until like the late 90s.
The 90s. Oh,
Which
that's
is like there's like a national dog association. They didn't even register them as an official dog breed in the United States until like 99.
Huh.
So those little puppers, man, they're cute. Little cute boys. They're evil. They're evil. They have spirals though.
No. Not my
no.
Franklin.
But welcome to Shiba Inu
I
Sundays.
I actually very much like that diversion, and I now kind of wish we could keep talking about Shibas instead of this very disturbing manga. But let's do it.
Yeah, let's dive in. So, the first 2 chapters are kind of one big chapter. It's the spiral obsession. Does anybody have the manuscript pulled up while we go through this?
Yeah, I have it. I have
Okay,
it. I have it
cool.
right now.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that I don't fuck this up. So,
Yeah, you're good, man.
Yeah, spiral obsession is effective. Well, so before we do this real quick, do we want to talk about how we? So I mentioned that I read it in 2 nights at my parents' house. Isaac, you had a special story about how you read it. Would you like
did
to tell
I?
us about that?
So it was coming up. It was my realization that this episode was about to be recorded, and I hadn't even touched this book yet. And so last weekend I was in Auburn, and I had my
Alabama.
Tesla, Auburn, Alabama, and I had to charge
Or damn.
my car. Yeah,
War damn.
I had to charge my car for the trip back to where I currently reside.
Why don't you tell them what kind of car you have, Isaac?
Because
Uh-oh.
okay, it's a Tesla, so I have to.
Wow.
I have to. It was. I had to charge it for like an hour and a half, right?
Little musky boy in his musk-mobile.
Musk. That's right. Oh, they actually sell like those little car refreshers, what do you call those things?
A refreshment.
Air freshener?
Air fresheners.
A refresh.
Come on, man.
And it's Elon Musk's face.
Oh my god.
And it's just
Is it
called
musky?
a Musk.
Oh my god, what a fucking.
Anyway.
Anyway.
So
He's such a fucking tool.
I'm in my Tesla.
Picture this: I'm in my Tesla.
I'm in my Tesla. Come into my Tesla.
My
and I had
garage.
to do this. Yo, no, don't do that. Here I am in my garage.
Check out all of my books.
Check out my car.
Looking at all of my manga.
Okay, anyway, where was I? Anyway, so I had to charge my car at midnight, and I was like, oh, let me just pull up this manga that Alessio is having us read and see what's all
And then
about.
this guy came up and he was like, hey, boy, you charging your car at midnight? Here, read this manga.
And it's like in the middle of nowhere, pitch black, and I'm reading for like an hour and a half.
You think they would put the
And-
charging stations in, like, well-lit public areas?
Well, it's like midnight, so you can imagine there's like not much going on. So basically, I'm having all these images
On a night like
literally
tonight. At this
running
exact
through
time.
my head, and let me tell you, it was kind of scary getting out of there. Not gonna lie, a couple
Did you
times
pull a
I
s-
thought I heard something like right outside my car.
God.
Was it
but,
spiraling?
It was. My brain
Did you pull a
was
sick
spiraling.
spiral donut on your way out?
Oh, that would have been the best way to
"See ya."
cap it off. You're like, can I get a crawler?
And an onion ring.
There is a Krispy Kreme right there.
There is.
Onion ring?
Yeah, what? That's just a ring.
It's literally
Sorry.
just a circle. Like a curly fry, maybe?
Curly fry. Yeah, there we are. Arby's.
Head over
curly
to
fry.
Chick-fil-A.
Pulled into an
that's
Arby's
waffle fries.
with my Sheba.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Well, yeah,
Anyway,
very cool.
so it was. I don't do scary things, and it was pitch black, pretty much, and I was having to read through this scary.
You literally did a scary thing in the worst possible scenario.
I know. I didn't mean to.
Sam, did
In
you?
a scenario where you have a vehicle that you must charge electrically, so you can't just
I
quickly
can't
escape.
leave. Yeah, I thought about that. I was thinking, like, what if somebody comes up? I can't just
Who's
take
gonna
off.
come up? The Spiral Man?
The spiral man
The Spiral Man
comes spiraling.
to get ya.
Yeah. The Jack
It
in the
was,
Box.
It was scary.
You see the Jack in the Box?
Yeah.
Oh no! I think I got to that point too, and I said, "Nope."
Dude, I'm gonna
Oh,
say the
God.
Jack in the Box chapter might be my least favorite chapter, though.
Dude, it's so freaking.
It's really
God.
creepy, but I think like it's kind of really dumb too, though.
I mean, a little
It's
bit.
a little
Like, it's
bit.
a really long Shaggy Dog story about a fucking Jack in the Box.
Like a real life Jack in the Box. Well, I mean,
Yeah,
Anyway,
We'll get
well,
there.
yeah, we'll get there. Sam, how did you read this? Did you read this in a public place late at night? As
No,
well?
I read it in the comfort of my bedroom with my lights on.
Very nice.
I read the first volume in a night, and then I read volume 2 and 3 in the same night. And I was texting Alessio my live reactions to some of the
They were great.
some of the shit I was reading as I was finishing it up.
Yeah, it's fucking God. We can't just read this. We can't do it justice. It's
Yeah.
A, it's so good. Be Still My Heart, it's so good. But
It's very
B,
good.
it's like fucking really weird, man.
yeah,
I just
I would
realized
recommend this.
My headphone cables are in a spiral.
Bless you. Get him out of there.
Guys, I'm so scared.
I'm actually legitimately looking around my room to see if there are any spirals.
They're listening.
Sam, are you curled up in a spiral?
No, I am laying straight out. Here's the board,
Straight as I
baby.
can be.
Yeah,
I'm planking.
I'm not crooked.
There are no
Nothing's
curls.
curling. All my cables are
Great.
Sam's straightening his hair as we speak.
Oh no, my hair is curly.
Cut it off.
Oh no.
Gotta cut it
Yeah.
off.
Okay, so we're getting ahead of ourselves. We're spoiling the plot of these things. All right, so let's dive in. We'll loop back around. So Spiral Obsession Part 1 is kind of the introductory chapter. Kiri explains herself. It's done very briskly. Like it's like first 2 pages we get what's going on. She's like, I'm coming home to my town. This is the story of some weird shit that happened in my hometown. I want to tell you. My boyfriend Shuichi comes from this high school that's out of town on the train. I meet him. We walk blah, blah, blah. Before she meets him at the train station, however, she encounters Shuichi's dad staring silently at a snail and will not recognize her or speak to her. So around this time, she meets Shuichi. They go home. Everything's fine. His dad's still acting a little strangely. He asks, I believe it's at this point, Kiri. Shuichi's dad asks Kiri, whose father is a potter, hey, would your dad be willing to create some pottery for me? I've got a special...
Well, she asked her dad directly.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. So
he asked her dad directly.
Yeah.
Shuichi's like, my dad's been like this. This town is weird. We got to leave together. And she's just like, what's wrong with you?
She's like, why? This is where I live.
Yeah.
This is my family. Why would I do that? And keep in mind that her family has been sort of like a staple of this town. Like her dad's like a famous potter who kind of makes his works here in this town.
Mm-hmm. And he tells a story to Kiri's dad about how the spiral is so it's like the art of the spiral.
It's perfect.
It's so perfect, and he loves the pattern. He's collecting everything that has spirals in it, and he kind of freaks Kiri out a little bit.
As he should.
He like quit his job, and all he does is just stare at his spiral collection.
Yeah, which we see a couple frames where he just has like a household filled with fucking spirals.
Yeah, he didn't even like. It's not even that he like quit his job. He just stopped going to work.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Just stopped.
Yeah, and so he's kind of patient zero, right? Like, I mean, we don't see other people in the town at this point yet, but it's kind of implied that like he's the one who kind of started it all, or at least this cycle of it, because
like
it becomes
he's
known.
so fucking obsessed like with these spirals that like he even like has a screaming match with Shuichi's mom because the fucking soup didn't have the fish cakes with the spiral pattern on them. And so to remedy this, he fucking stirs his soup so fast and just stares at it spitting.
Yeah, and it's around this time that Shuichi's mother is even a little, like, uncomfortable about this.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so Kiri asks her father. Her father decides, this will be great. I have a patron. This is awesome. We're making some money. Hell yeah, I can do this. And I believe Shuichi's dad comes to give him the specifications. And he starts ranting and raving and getting way too fucking into it. He's like, like pottery itself involves you using a spiral. You're spinning your wheel and it spins the clay, and that's how you make it. And he's like, oh yeah, I guess you're right. I never thought about that. And so like thus begins this like weird fucking case study that Junji Ito has written about all things that spiral. And here's the deal: if it fucking spirals, it gets mentioned in this book. I feel like.
Yeah, for the most part, they don't mention Shiba tails, obviously.
Yeah, not at all. Thank God. Or soft serve ice cream. Thank God. But yeah, so Kiri's dad gets to work on creating this piece. And Shuichi's dad kind of is freaking out more and more and more. We get some sort of ancillary, like a very FLCL, like young kid commentary on like nothing special ever happens in this town, and I really wish something special would happen. And it's like, well, I don't think you do. And so the way that I believe it's this chapter ends is with Shuichi's dad eventually. I don't know if this is part 1 or part 2. Shuichi.
Well, it's.
Go ahead, sir.
This is all part 1.
Yeah,
still.
yeah, like establishing. But I can't remember how it ends. Do you remember how part 1?
Well, so it ends with the smoke.
Okay, cool. So it does go all the way to that point.
Yeah. So so Shuichi and Kiri are walking to Shuichi's house, and they come into Shuichi's dad flipping the fuck out because his mom threw away his spiral collection. So he starts freaking out, and then he calms down. He says, I don't need my collection anymore. I learned that you can express the spiral through your body.
Yeah, I've learned the art of the spiral. And he starts to spin his eyes. One of his eyes moves independent of the others, and both of his eyes are moving in different directions, which is fucking crazy.
And the way that it's drawn, like the way that everything in this manga is drawn, is very deliberate and very spooky and creepy. And the way that his face, oh my god, it's
well. And don't get me wrong. Everything starts out beautiful. Like, it's very beautifully animated. And so that way, when it goes off the rails, you're like, whoa, dude.
Yeah.
But eventually, I believe it's in this chunk, he rolls his eyes into his own head, like completely around.
Oh, yeah.
And immediately Kiri's like, oh, shit. And so she's like, I got to go home.
Yeah.
And Shuichi's like, okay, cool, I'll talk to you later. And
They don't really talk about it,
Yeah,
and then she goes to deliver the pottery that her dad made to Shuichi's dad. And it's like, oh, thanks. I don't really need it anymore, though.
Yeah, you can keep it.
Yeah, I can express the spiral from my body, and then fucking sticks his goddamn tongue out and spirals it. It's the fucking gross.
Yeah, he just coils his tongue up, and then clearly Kiri's like, I gotta get the fuck out of here.
Yeah,
so she
runs away
rolls,
screaming.
Yeah, and then later, I believe that I think, does she meet Shuichi at the hospital? Is that what it is?
No, that was his mom. So as she's running away, somebody is delivering something to Shuichi's dad, and then it cuts to the funeral. And they've all said that he fell down the stairs and that's how he died. But Shuichi tells a story.
He pulls Kiri aside and tells her kind of in private.
Mm-hmm. And this like round, like almost like something you put like rice, like a round thing you put rice in, but just really big. They found in a study he contorted his whole fucking body into a spiral and like killed himself in this like thing.
Yeah,
but
who the fuck put the top on? Is my question.
Exactly. I don't know.
I think
it's very strange.
Wasn't it sort of implied that he wasn't dead? Because like he was looking at them.
Oh yeah, that's
his
right.
wife.
Because Shuichi
yeah.
says that his mom was like fucking shook because he just kept staring.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like whispering at her to like come join him or something.
Yeah, join me in the spiral.
And then,
so it ends right with sort of traditionally the way that they handle deaths in this small town. Again, keep in mind it's a very rural small town, a lot of fishermen, stuff like that. There's a lighthouse.
Like everybody knows everybody.
Yeah, they what's the word? Cremate everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And so the
whoa,
my God,
Yikes,
Franklin,
that's creepy.
Frank.
Holy crap.
Frank's like, don't talk about it.
Oh my God.
Frank's like, don't talk about it.
Give me
Frank's like, look at my tail, it's the spiral.
Frank's like, join me in the spiral.
What the fuck?
Oh my gosh, Frank.
That scared me.
I hear that little boy. For those of you who don't know, Frank is the sweetest little boy. It's funny. So I found out that black and tan Shibas do have rounder, fuller eyebrows, and they have rounder eyes. And so Jerry's got these very articulated, like brown eyebrows. But Frank has like this very tiny little like pencil eyebrow.
Talking about my dog.
Yeah, so Frank's got these two little tiny pencil eyebrows. And so Frank, like Jerry looks sad all the time. Frank looks angry all the time.
Or surprised.
Or surprised.
Either or.
He's the Michelle Obama of Shibas.
Oh.
But anyway, oh, sorry.
Freaked me out a little bit.
Is he okay? Is everything fine?
Yeah, he's good.
He was looking at a snail.
Oh, gosh.
But so they cremate Shuichi's dad, and what's fucking weird is the smoke spirals up into the air, fills the entire sky with a giant spiral, and then spirals down into the center of the lake in the middle of town.
And we find out in chapter 2, it kind of like you can kind of see his dad's face in the smoke as it's spiraling down.
Yeah, and so this sort of begins the weirdness that's about to be sort of put out to the rest of the town. So first and foremost, obviously, it affects the family. So Shuichi kind of encloses himself in his house. He's very despondent. He's taking care of his mother, and his mother begins to freak the fuck out. She just has a fucking panic attack. Like, her hair starts to spiral, so she cuts it all off. She freaks out and has to go to the hospital. Shuichi puts her in the hospital.
She flips out and uses scissors to cut off her fucking fingers because her fingerprints are spirals.
Oh my god. Yeah, so anything to do with spirals, Junji will go to it. So she is like being held in hospice, being monitored at all times. The part where like my gut dropped is the doctor's.
Was it the ear?
Dude, doctor's talking to Shuichi's mom. Shuichi's there. Shuichi recognizes the poster behind the doctor is like an anatomy diagram.
Of the ear.
Yeah, and Shuichi sees the ear canal and how naturally inside of our ears we have spirals. And Shuichi is very, very cognizant and starts to get freaked out about it. And his mom's like, "What are you looking at? What's the issue?" And he's like, "Oh, no issue at all." And the doctor kind of notices Shuichi's fear and goes, "Oh, shit." And so after the mom gets taken away, they take the poster down. And so she starts to freak out because she tries to go to bed at night and she hears her husband. She sees the fluid spinning in her IV in the shape of a spiral. And she takes the IV out and she's trying to sleep, but she still hears her husband, "Join me, join me." I don't remember, is this where the centipede tries to crawl in her ear?
Yep.
So the centipede tries to crawl in her ear while she's sleeping and she notices it and freaks out and smacks it away, and then it spirals on the floor.
And she sees him in it.
Yeah, and so she starts to freak the fuck out, and then she's convinced. She's like, "Shuichi's hiding something from me. The doctor's hiding something from me. What are they hiding?" And so she rushes out the next day, and she says, "I haven't slept. Where the fuck is the diagram? You had a diagram behind you. There's something to do with the diagram. I know that I have a spiral somewhere on my body. I can't sleep. I need to get rid of it." And so finally, the doctor says, like, "Oh, I don't know what you're talking about." He says the funniest shit. He says, "Oh, we discovered that our anatomy poster was out of date, so we had to decommission it. We're gonna get a new anatomy poster." And she's like, "What are you talking about?" And so they put her back in her room, but I believe somehow she gets a hold of a pair of scissors, right?
And that's when she sees her husband in the IV, and he's just screaming that there are spirals in your ears, and then she flips the fuck out, and essentially they don't show it actually happening,
she like
but they
brains
show her
herself.
Yeah, she shows her like rearing back and essentially stabbing her. She's going to stab her ear out with the scissors.
Yeah, and then the next panel is like her head wrapped, right?
Yeah.
And so essentially she dies a couple days later. Like they couldn't keep her alive. And so she too gets cremated, and then her spiral of smoke goes into the sky and comes back down into the pond. What is it called again? It's like Dragonfly or Tiger
Dragonfly.
Lily?
Dragonfly.
Yeah,
Pond.
Dragonfly Pond.
Dragonfly Lake or something like that.
And then Shuichi's just fucking parentless. And he becomes, increasingly throughout the book, Shuichi becomes a husk of a human.
It's like the most depressing but also kind of semi-comedic thing I've ever seen. Because like I think like there's like a chapter like late in the book, like 17 or 18, where one of the panels is literally just a close-up on Shuichi's face with no words. And I laughed when I saw it because it was just like, this fucking guy.
Yeah, so Shuichi becomes kind of like a hikikomori for the rest of the series, which hikikomori literally translates to pulling inward, being confined, but it's more specifically the acute social withdrawal, which is a pretty big epidemic right now. It's, as of 2016, 541,000 young Japanese people refuse to leave their homes, which is fucking insane.
Yeah.
So Shuichi becomes sort of this hermit, this hikikomori, and I know Kiryu delivers food to him kind of periodically and checks in on him. And her parents are like, "Oh, you don't have to do that. Don't worry about it." And then I believe Kiryu's father says, like, "Hey, I finished this thing." Like, I do believe that comes on with the firing effect, right? More specifically, chapter 4.
Yeah, this is in a couple chapters.
Yeah. How does chapter 2 end? I can't remember what the final
chapter
ending.
2 ends with the smoke.
Yeah,
from his mom.
Cremation.
And then chapter 3 is where they kind of start doing the more like each one is sort
like
of like
Monster
a
of the
chronicle.
Week.
Yeah. And the third chapter is about the girl with the scar. On
Dude,
her
I
head.
love this one.
It's a very good one.
It needs to be stated that even though Junji Ito is dealing with horror, kind of akin to the way that Kojima works, and I guess Japanese people in general, they still have a really good sense of humor about it. And so there are still some very funny things that happen.
I think the hair chapter actually made me laugh out loud a couple
The
times.
fucking hair battle. But yeah, so the scar is about this new girl who starts going to school with
Her name is
them.
Azami Kuratani.
Yeah, and Azami's whole thing is that she is kind of this tsundere figure, where she kind of puts on this front where she's like, I'm too good for you, I'm not going to talk to you, blah, blah, blah. But she secretly loves that these boys are throwing themselves at her. And one of these boys finally tells Kiri, who is kind of, I don't know, I've noticed, I feel like their relationship's very like love-hate. Like Kiri kind of likes her, but at the same time kind of feels like she's a bit of a stuck-up lady. But this boy kind of confides in Kiri, like, hey, I heard a rumor that boys didn't start liking your friend until she got this weird scar on her forehead, and you should pay attention to it. And Kiri starts to notice, I think it's in gym class, that the scar looks like a tiny little spiral on her forehead. And she kind of shunts this off. Her friend's like, oh, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, I just kind of fell and hit my head, and this boy asked me if I was okay, and ever since that day, boys have been drawn to me. But eventually, and I'm not quite...
Well, so that's the thing. I don't think she knows, because it just looks like a crescent.
Yeah, it's like a half moon.
At this point,
first.
it's Shuichi that notices it, like is like screaming that it's a spiral.
Yeah, so her friend goes with Kiri to deliver food to Shuichi one day. And Shuichi is very, again, withdrawn, very sunken-eyed, has not slept in forever. Dude, I love that, man.
I'm flipping through the manga as we're talking, and just like this scene, he's just like, they open the door and walk in, and then he pokes his head out of his room, and it just, like, the panel is just him saying, hey, and his eyes
really
are so
distraught.
sunken. It's just fucking funny.
I love the look on that man's face the whole time.
Well, what's crazy is, like, she's really emphatic on wanting to meet Shuichi for whatever reason.
She wants all these boys. She wants these boys.
She just
like
wants them.
She collects them. Got to catch them all.
Yeah. And he gets this like weird presence from her, and he's
he
just,
doesn't like
screaming
it.
at her to
he
go away and
freaks
never
out.
come back. She does not like that.
Well, she does like it though.
Well, I mean, she likes it. She wants to know why that.
Yeah.
He doesn't like her.
Yeah, so she becomes kind of obsessed with him, with Shuichi, and eventually it kind of escalates and escalates to the point where she keeps going to Shuichi's house without Kiryu, beating on the door saying, you've got to talk to me, you got to talk to me, you got to talk to me. And I think one of the times he does talk to her briefly, and she says, she explains to him, like, look, every other boy has fawned over me and thrown themselves at me except for you. Why? I need you. Like, the fact that he's doing to her what she has done to so many boys has kind of caused her to realize that people want what they can't have. And so Shuichi tells her to get lost, and she starts to enlist other boys to kind of be the midway person to trick Shuichi to come out. And
in her head, and like her scar is turning into a spiral, and it's getting bigger and bigger on her forehead.
Yeah, and so
and deeper.
Oh, dude, it's whoo. So Kiryu, I believe, runs into her on the street before. So she enlists this boy who tells Shuichi, "Hey, meet me in the park." And Kiryu encounters her friend before Shuichi can get to the meeting spot, and Kiryu notices that she's wearing a hat. Yeah. And when she lifts the hat, you see that like a third of her fucking head has become a spiral that's just drilling into her brain.
Her eye is like exposed.
Dude, she says, like,
Hmm.
my vision's acting weird. Why can't I see you?
Yeah, and it's so, because it's like the panel shows
so
like
sad.
the spiral swallowing her eye.
Yeah, her eye just like rides the track of the spiral into the back of her head.
Yeah.
And she's like, why can't I see you, Kiri? And I'm just like, oh my God. And she puts her hat back on to cover it up, and she goes to walk away. And so we cut to Shuichi meeting his friend in the park, and his friend's like, look, like, she tricked me into getting you out here. She wants to talk to you. And he's like, God damn it. And so she takes her hat off, and it has completely devoured the top half of her head. And she swallows, like, the boy tries to step in to do something, and the boy...
Well, she said that she, like, doesn't care about her promises.
Yeah.
And he swipes her hat and screams that he lied to her, and then she swallows him up.
Yeah, so he slips into the spiral in her head and gets sucked in. And I believe that's when Kiri also comes out on the scene, and she's like, what the fuck? And so Kiryu and Shuichi kind of like recoil back as Kiryu's friend just fucking her body devours itself effectively. And again, we end with like an oh fuck, and Shuichi's
they're
just like,
staring at like this.
I gotta go.
Yeah, this imprint on the ground, and it's just like, if the fucking thing with her dad didn't flip you out into leaving, this would make me leave.
Oh yeah, I'd be like I gotta go.
I would have been gone. I would have been gone as soon as I saw that man's tongue.
Oh yeah, I would have been gone
Like
that night.
Yeah, like the eye thing was weird, but like you can trick your eyes and like you can trick people into seeing weird stuff. That tongue thing, I would have been gone.
Oh yeah, I would have been like,
if I wasn't
taking the
gone after
midnight
that-
train going anywhere.
Right, and then if the smoke that went into the pond didn't scare me off, and the mom freaking out and cutting every spiral thing from her body and stabbing herself in the ear didn't freak me out, seeing this person literally be devoured by herself that was turning into a spiral would make me fucking bounce.
Oh yeah, I'd be like, sorry y'all. Dude, and so Shuichi, God bless his fucking soul, I can't even imagine what he's going through in silence in his home.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and he doesn't leave.
What's he doing? I want to see a side story on what he's doing in the background on all these. Like, is he just playing video games? Like, what is he doing? Oh, he's booting up a Dreamcast.
No.
I can never play Dreamcast again.
Oh, jeez.
Oh boy.
But then
ends.
begins chapter 4, the firing effect. This one's really fucked up. This one's very like Edgar Allan Poe, I feel
It's
like.
kind of sad.
Yeah,
for me, at
so
least. It's like,
this is Kiri's father is getting ready for like an event, right? It's like a pottery event.
Yeah, like a showcase or something.
Yeah, and so he's pulling out some new pieces out of the fire, but he hears something weird, and we get like a frame of him just kind of looking into the fire, and he's like, "What the fuck?" And later we see at the show he brings his pieces, and they're all twisted and warped and spirals all over all of them. And people at the event are like, "Well, this is kind of crazy and cool. That's neat that it did this, but like, we're not going to award you anything. Like, this looks fucked up. Like, what'd you do?"
I think he's trying to sell his pieces, and nobody
that's what
would
it
buy
is.
them.
Yeah, but he becomes obsessed with them. And so
Like he refused. He does not want anybody to look into his kiln. Like he wants everybody to stay out of his place. Like
he's acting very combative with his family.
Yeah.
And I believe
And they noticed like at dinner that night that the pots have like faces in them.
Oh yeah, like Kiri is like, this one very, very explicitly looks like Shuichi's father. And they invite Shuichi over for dinner, and Kiri finally gets him out of the house, and he comes over for dinner, and her fucking parents are, I believe before they invite him over, her parents are trying to do pasta or something, and she's like, no. Like, that shit spirals.
Well, like I mean, like even like he devours the pasta though.
Yeah, he's like, it's fine. I can get over this. It's fine. I got to get over it.
It's the
But then he looks down, and the plate is the plate made out of the spiral clay.
Yeah.
And he's like,
her dad thought that since Shuichi's dad liked spirals, that he would Shuichi would appreciate
oh my
the
god,
plate as well.
Right.
Oh, so
I
fucked
guess he
up.
didn't realize he didn't know what happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess only
So-
Kiri
And then-
was like present to hear about it.
Yeah.
And then you find out after Shuichi flips out and runs away that he was making these her dad was making these potteries with mud from the pond where all this fucking smoke is going down into.
Yes, because
these
it all
ashes.
connects.
Yep.
It all spirals
And
together.
then there's like a whole page where like she's walking down to the pond and he's just like walking out from being completely submerged in the water with
He
buckets.
goes
of mud.
all the way.
Oh, dude, this guy's losing his fucking mind. And so Kiri's woken from her sleep. Her father has not fucking come home for like 2 days, and he's out there cooking a bunch of pottery. And Kiri hears what sounds like screams, and she's like, "What the fuck is this?" And as she goes out there, from her room, she can tell these sound like Shuichi's parents screaming. And then Shuichi fucking comes out of nowhere, and he's like, "What the fuck is that screaming? Like, what? I hear my parents. Like, what are you doing?" And Kiri's father's like, "Yo, dude, get the fuck out of here. Get the fuck out of here." And Shuichi kind of like brute forces his way in and looks in and realizes that his parents are fucking burning alive inside the kiln. And I think, is that the end of the firing effect? Because I think that Twisted Souls is about
Well, yeah, he
parent.
breaks the kiln, and then all the souls like escape from the kiln, and then the area, like the whole building, burns down.
Yeah.
And then they're looking at the burnt down wreckage. And they're talking about how they're lucky that they only lost the kiln, and then her father like goes into the wreckage and pulls out like a pot that like was created with these souls that he's still obsessed with it. So
Yeah.
that's how it ends.
Is that how the firing effect ends, or the Twisted Souls?
Firing.
Firing
Okay,
effect.
so
He
Twisted
finds
Souls.
he finds the pottery in the rubble, and then
Okay, so Twisted Souls. I'm worrying that I'm fusing these together. What happens in Twisted Souls?
Twisted Souls is the ones where it's like the Romeo and Juliet families
Forbidden
in the house.
Oh, okay, yeah. This one's
Yeah.
actually really interesting too. So
The row houses.
yeah, there are these row houses which will come back in a big bad way. But essentially, these row houses are where these like impoverished families live, and there's like what, 5 families crammed in one house, kind of. And they're so close together that they all share a wall, or whatever. They're very close, so you can hear through the walls. And effectively, you've got one family at the end of the house and another family at the other end of the house, where the son from one family and the daughter from another family are in love with each other, but the two families hate each other.
I thought it was one of them was like the landlord, and the other was somebody that was renting out of the house.
Maybe they were both living.
Yeah, they
in
both
the row
lived in the house though, because they're yelling back
pretty
and
sure.
forth.
Because it's something to do with like their status, their caste status.
Oh,
I think what it is that the son, the boy in the relationship, I think his family was displaced to live in the row house, and I think the other family had been there forever, and so the boy's family calls them trash, and then the girl's family's like, well, you fucking live here too, like you're trash too, you pieces of shit, like shut up. And so there's sort of, again, like you're saying, like a socioeconomic kind of tension. And again, a lot of people will be displaced into these row houses soon. But these two lovers kind of conspire with Kyrie, who feels for them, and her heart's kind of growing for them. And Kyrie kind of coordinates for the two to run away. And due to sort of violent situation between the two families, they just fucking book it and run away. Instead of leaving town, they just run away.
Yeah.
And so they find another house on the outskirts of town that they hang out in, but they see, what is it? It's like 2 animals.
Snakes.
Oh,
Two
two. Yeah,
snakes.
what the fuck? So these 2 snakes like coil up and like roll through the floor and then land in a hole.
Yeah, they like intertwine with each other and like
Yeah,
fall down.
and the boy's
on the
like,
floor.
"Oh man, like that's what snakes look like when they fuck," and the girl's like, "I want to fuck," and the boy's like, "Let's fuck," and then the parents show up and they're like, "We fucking found you, like come out," and they're like, "No, we're gonna stay together," and so earlier they kind of show you this very quickly, but one of the family members punches that son. And his body kind of twists a little bit.
Yeah, and contorts a little bit, and Kyrie is like staring at him.
Yeah,
But she
Yeah.
doesn't
Transfixed.
realize it at that time.
Yeah,
She's
and so
like, oh.
so later this kind of happens again, and the boy gets punched again, and he twists, and he calls for the lover, "Quick, come to me."
Well, they decided that they're going to escape, so they run and run,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
they're running away from the families chasing after them, and they escape to the beach. And then they're just like, he gets punched, and he's like, they're not separating us again. And then he calls for her to do the thing that they did like before.
Oh,
and
yeah.
he starts fucking twisting, and then she starts twisting.
And then they twist together. They become like a licorice.
Yeah.
And then where do they go? Do they just like go into the sea?
They
They
fall
just
into the
go
pond.
into the ocean and disappear.
Yeah, and then the family's like, "The fuck?" And then they're like, "That's this episode."
Yep.
Yeah, that's how it ends.
And then
The next one I think
This
is
is-
my favorite
Yeah.
chapter.
I love it.
This one's so good.
It's called Medusa. It's about hair.
Yeah, hard stop.
Yeah, hard stop.
So
all you need to
what
know.
is it that happened? So essentially, it's Kyrie and her friend are talking about like her friend's like, "I really wish more people would notice me. I'd love to be famous or something."
Yeah, well, because there was this kid that like was begging for attention, and he was doing shit on the roof, and he fell off the roof, and like
Oh yeah.
yeah. So they see him dead on the ground, but he has this like smile on his face, like he was content for some reason. And then that prompts her friend to be like, "Ooh, I wish I could get attention all the time."
Yeah,
And
which
Kyrie
is
is like,
fucking weird idea to have when you see a kid die.
Yeah, and Kirya's just like, I hate attention. I don't want attention. And then she talks to Shuichi about like about people being obsessed with attention, and it's the spirals that are doing it. And then Shuichi says to her that her hair is getting long and that she should get a haircut.
And she's like,
and then
what do
the
you
ne-
mean? That's weird. Why is my hair so long?
Yeah. And then the next day she goes to school and her hair starts curling, and she just can't get it to. She can't get it to stop curling. She tries braiding it. She tries putting it with like rubber bands.
Yeah.
It'll just keeps on curling and curling
And getting longer and longer. And then eventually her hair has like a mind of its own and becomes like Dr. Octopus hair.
It starts like attacking people that try to cut it, and it starts like hypnotizing people, like her family and people at school.
And she notices that she's starting to feel like less energetic. Like the hair is draining from her to do this. And so her friend gets ultra jealous, and her friend's like, you're a dumb bitch. Like, I want to be popular. Fuck you. And so for whatever reason, her friend also starts growing this crazy hair.
Yeah, like she comes in one day, like the crowd is surrounding her, and then Shuichi sees her and just like he runs away from her. And then the next day she goes, yo bitch, check me out. And then she just has the spiral hair.
Yeah, which is like, what?
And then they have like a literally
like
like
a hair battle.
like West Side Story hair battle, and their hair starts like tangling up, and
Yeah.
they both look like super exhausted. And
Yeah, and then Shuichi comes... Oh, go ahead, Isaac, sorry.
I was just gonna say, I wonder if the movie adaptation did this part.
Oh, I hope the movie adaptation is just this part.
Just this. That would be perfect.
Oh my god. Yeah, perfect hair forever. Yeah, so essentially what ends up happening is Isaac, well, no, you already said your thing. Shuichi comes out of the fucking woodwork dressed like a ninja and just fucking throws a tarp. I don't understand how this fucker's got energy for anything, because he's been like dying. But he throws a tarp over Kiryu and then like fucking cuts her hair. And she gets this really cute girl like.
Well, no. There's no tarp.
Oh,
Isaac, you want to explain what? Do you remember what happened here?
So basically, Medusa number 2, black-haired Medusa, slaps one of her Medusa arms and starts choking Kiryu. And that's when Shuichi comes out of the woodworks like a madman with a pair of scissors.
My girl.
And he scissors off the piece of hair that's choking her.
Jesus.
And he's trying to cut off Kiryu's hair, but her hair, wanting to live as it does, starts to choke out Shuichi, and starts to try to like almost boa constrict him to death.
Yeah, like wraps him in a cocoon of hair.
And so that's that. And then
So that's that.
So
black hair Medusa.
Says, Raven Medusa.
So all this time Kiryu is like on the ground, kind of passed out. Maybe she's dead. Maybe she's not. Who knows?
Yeah, it reminds me of episode 4 of FLCL with the school play.
Oh yeah. So then black hair Medusa says, I want more power. So she wraps onto a power line and becomes a skeleton, essentially, wrapped up in this power line.
Yeah, really quick, Alessa, did you just do the power line from this
I
movie?
did.
Okay, good.
But
Sam's
out of the
like,
woodworks,
let me stamp this.
Sam.
Yes, out of the woodworks.
That's it?
Shuichi.
Yeah, out of the woodworks.
Shuichi cuts his way out of Kiryu's hand.
Oh, yeah. In the 11th hour, he's like, nah, I was waiting. I
kind of love this panel, or this page, because
it's fucking, like, that's why I was laughing. Like, the end is a little morbid, but the whole fucking chapter is, like, comical.
Yeah,
like,
I think
so
this is the comedy
like,
chapter.
the Jack in the Box one is kind of comical, but it's, like, really... It's like really disturbing. Medusa, I think, all the way through is the only chapter in this book that I think is completely comical.
Yeah, so I love Medusa, excuse me. I hate the Jack in the Box.
Yeah, Jack in the
Yeah.
Box.
So
yeah.
let's. How does this one end? Is that how it ends? Is just
That's how it ends with her with Suichi fucking Bear Grylls his way out of Furious hair and Medusa dying as like a gaunt skeleton on the power line.
Yeah. So Jack in the Box. I'll take this one because I.
Yeah, that's the next one. That's the next one. So if you're reading in volume format, that is the end of volume 1, and Jack in the Box is the first chapter of volume 2.
So that kind of makes sense because Medusa's kind of like the funny send off. Like it's just like, and wrap it up. Here we go. So Jack in the Box, I hate that this is the start of volume 2 because I think, again, this is the weakest one in my opinion. It feels like a bad joke that goes on for too long. So there's this kid, I believe his name is Jack. He enjoys scaring people.
I don't think his name is. I don't say what his actual name is.
Call
people
him Jack.
call him.
I'm surprised.
People call him.
I'm surprised
Jack
his
in
name's
the
not
Box.
Jack because he's an asshole.
They call him Jack because he
likes to surprise people.
Yeah. So he's got a little crush on Kyrie, and he keeps trying to spook her because he thinks it's funny, and he keeps trying to come on to her, and she's like, "Nah, dog, I'm good. Nah, dog, I got a boyfriend." And he just kind of keeps spooking her, and then he leaves her this present. And then I think following him leaving her the present, he's trying to spook her again, and then ultimately just kind of says like, "Hey, I'm going to go out with you, and I'm going to do whatever it takes because I can't take no for an answer because I'm Brett Kavanaugh and I'm a fucking piece of shit." And trigger warning. And she's like, "No means no, motherfucker."
Man.
And
does he really like beer?
Oh no. But he's like, she's like, "No means no, motherfucker," and he's like, "Well, check this out," and then dives in front of a car and dies.
Not even, but he doesn't just die.
Oh man.
He gets coiled up. He spirals up into the fucking
car,
gummy
like
works of the car.
Yeah, he like the gummy works. He gets like into the fucking undercarriage and everything. I have never once ever, and I'm going to be honest with you, I don't make a habit out of looking at people who have just gotten hit by vehicles, but the times that I have seen it, I've never once ever seen somebody get hit so bad that they get rolled up into the gummy works of a car's undercarriage.
Dude, he got fucking. He gets sluiced in there like somebody ties a rope around an axle of a car.
Yeah, I'm gonna start using gummy works more because that's amazing.
Dude, he just fucking nerds ropes his way into the inside of the car.
Nice.
And here's the other thing too: it's not even like he was on like a highway at high speed. This is like this small ass town. Like this car would be going 35 miles an hour at most.
He was like, "Lol, check this out."
Yeah,
She's like, "Oh my fucking god, what is wrong with you?"
Oh boy.
And so she later goes home, and I think she opens this little gift box, and it's a fucking Jack in the Box, which is obnoxious.
They have the funeral. They do not cremate him. They bury him.
Oh yeah, they specifically
which is
state that
key.
they try not to cremate people anymore because of the fucked up shit going on with the pond. Mm-hmm. And everybody's like, "Word, that's fine." And so they bury him in this graveyard, and I believe later on, what is it? Oh, so I believe.
Well, the Jack in the Box starts talking to her.
Yeah, the Jack in the Box at her house starts talking to her, and I can't remember what it is that she has to go get, but I think that Shuichi and her conspire to like dig the grave up to get something.
Well,
no, they want to. What was it?
Well, the Jack in the Box is like, he'll come back for you, referring to this Jack guy. So her and Shuichi go to his gravesite
to just like put
to
it
try to quote unquote kill him for good.
They're like, "Fuck."
Oh yeah, they go to stake him in the heart, and they're like, he's not a vampire.
Yeah, and Shuichi's like, "I don't give a shit. I haven't slept in 15 days. Like, let's do this."
No, Shuichi's just like, she's like, how is? He says something. She says like, do you believe what this clown said? And I also don't think he's a vampire. And Shuichi's like, you don't believe this will work, but you also believe that a Jack in the Box spoke to you. Yeah. All right, let's go.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. So again, you're in trouble when the dude who hasn't slept for 2 weeks is like making more sense than you are. Mm-hmm. And so they go in there. They're getting ready to do this shit, and then as they get close to the grave, I hate this. Fucking dig it up. Yeah, they dig up the coffin, and then the Jack in the Box boy springs out of the coffin at them. And he's like, "I got you, baby." And he's all nasty, and the big thing is the coil from under the car got like dislodged into his body, and they couldn't cut him free, so they buried him with it.
Yeah.
So he has this coil, which I don't know what cars have a fucking coil,
Yeah.
but he has this coil
Like
in his body.
And he's like springing after him, and his like guts are falling out, and his legs are falling off,
God.
and like after both of his legs fall off, he lands on the ground, and he looks like he's dead, and then surprise, he springs up again.
Yep. This is very Freddy Krueger. I feel like this whole thing.
Yeah.
And eventually, they pull the coil out from his body, and it ceases him, and that's just the end of it.
Yeah.
And then the snail. I love the snail. This one's great.
Jesus.
Oh, this one is creepy.
I love this boy. He's just like, hey,
Yeah.
I'm lazy, sticky
Yeah.
boy. So there's this kid that only comes to school when it rains, which is weird. And he's very slow moving, comically so, extremely slow moving.
Yeah, his face is very creepy.
Yeah, and they like keep making fun of him, like they're playing volleyball or something, and he's like way too slow to react. And they're like, "Come
Yeah.
on, dumbass, what's wrong with you?"
And they go to like beat him up in the gym after that, and they notice that like they like strip him down and drag him out, and they realize he has this like spiral on his back, and then he like kind of like slugs away.
Oh yeah, this is a very sluggy boy. This is like if Pigpen from Peanuts actually left like a trail of gunk instead of dust. And so eventually they don't see him again for a while, and then finally he like shows up to the school with a snail shell for a body, and he's like crawling up the side of the building. And all these girls get scared and shit, so they come out there and they peel him off the building with a big old stick. And this one bully in particular, when they start to treat him as like the class pet, because they put him in like a fucking literal pen, and his parents are like, "What the fuck?" And they're just like, "Well, we don't know." And so they're like, "All right, I guess we'll leave him here." And so he's in a snail shell, but he still has like human hair on his head. And this bully keeps like coming out to feed him and talking shit over and over and over. And I can't remember what it is that happens, but the bully eventually starts to get a spiral on his back as well.
Yeah, he starts moving really slow too.
Yeah.
And then they realize one day that he's not in class, and then they see him crawling up the side of the building as well.
Yep.
And they put him in the pen as well, and then they start mating because slugs are hermaphrodites.
Oh, yeah, that's right. And then there are all these eggs. And I think, isn't it
And
the
so-
teacher? The teacher
yeah.
goes out and he's like,
Well,
they escape. The two boys escape.
Yeah, they escape from the pen, and they go on like a search party. They find all these eggs, and the teacher stomps them all. And then the next day he comes into class, and he's turned into a slug too. But like a really like even more grotesque slug. Like he's covered in eggs. Like it's very gross.
It's super disgusting.
Gross.
But then it kind of, if I remember correctly, it ends with, don't they kill the teacher?
No, it just ends with the teacher crawling into class. That's literally the last panel.
Oh, gotcha. But it also ends very much so after they crush the eggs as like but we never found the boys. They could be anywhere.
Well, it says, so I'll actually read it here. It says, in the end, we found nothing, neither the eggs nor the original pair. Several days later, this time, Mr. Yakota came to class.
No.
And it's just him crawling into the classroom, and that's how it ends.
So nasty. Yeah, that one's pretty good. I like that one. And then chapter 9 is the Black Lighthouse. This one's crazy.
This one is.
Isaac.
You want to go over this one, Isaac?
I really
I'll
like
try
this
it.
one. This one's great. This one's very like H.P. Lovecraft. Like,
Well, I don't want to do
specifically.
it. I don't want to break down the
No,
justice
you got
of
it.
this.
No, you got it.
Well, I'm following along, so
All right.
I got you.
I'm using my
So
memory hole.
So basically, there's a lighthouse in the ocean or on the
Oh,
shore.
sorry. Hold on, guys. I got to unfurl my boner because my penis wrapped into a spiral
Gross.
boner. I'm kidding.
And anyway, so this lighthouse has been like decommissioned for forever, and all of a sudden, it starts at night, or I guess when the sun goes down, it emits this massive light from the lighthouse, and it's been doing this for a few days now or weeks. I don't know how long. Nobody knows. So basically, time goes on, and everybody is staring at this lighthouse and is mesmerized by the light, blah, blah, blah. And during the day, the people that were staring at the lighthouse light start to lose control of their movement, and
Their
they start
their
walking
motor
in
functions.
spiral. Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, they're
and they're like,
spinning in place.
Oh,
they're like,
yeah.
I'm trying to get
They're like,
to this
I'm trying
place
to get
over
home.
here.
I'm just trying to go to the store, man.
It's taking a long time. And the people watching them, they're just like going in spirals, and it's just super creepy. And then all of a sudden, Kirie's brother and her
Oh yeah, that poor little kid and his
her
friends.
friends are intrigued at this lighthouse, so they go.
Hold on, real quick. This poor
Yeah.
little boy gets the shittiest fate. I feel like.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, because it's not her. Oh, you're
Not
talking
her
about her brother?
Yeah, her brother.
Yeah,
Oof.
at the end, yeah.
Oof.
Oh, yeah, for sure. At the very end.
Good God.
Yeah.
He's carrying a backpack. But anyway, go ahead.
Just
Isaac.
pretend. Just pretend.
Yeah.
So basically, all right. So, Kirie's brother and his friends go up to the lighthouse because they're intrigued and they want to know what's happening. Why is this decommissioned lighthouse lighting up all of a sudden? And so Kirie runs after them. His name is Mitsuo. So Mitsuo. So she's running up the staircase to this lighthouse,
Spiral
trying to find
staircase.
her brothers.
Tetsuya!
Yeah, spirals.
Kaneda!
Sorry.
And she's realizing that she should probably be at the top by now.
Oh, yeah,
she's
she's getting
been-
super exhausted.
She's been going for a long
So
while.
dope. God, I love it. Anything that's bigger on the inside than it is on the outside, be still my heart.
Man. Have I got a show for you, Alessio? It's called Doctor Who.
Oh no!
Who put this comfy house inside of this telephone booth?
Oh, gross.
Man, he now no.
Huh?
Now she has a swimming
She?
pool in there.
in her
She has a
house.
swimming. No, the doctor. She has a well, not anymore. She doesn't. She had to jettison the swimming. It's
All right, we're back to the lighthouse.
Keep going.
have to go
Anyway,
back.
so she finally reaches. Oh, she sees like these weird, decrepit skeleton.
Yeah, these
people,
charred bodies.
bodies, and she's like, let me see what.
No,
the,
hold on.
actual-
She goes.
That's the one. Yeah.
If there was a fucking Alessio soundboard, I would only exclusively press that button every second of the day.
That's the one. So basically, all right. she
Practicing
gets
to be an anime voice actor.
She gets to the top of the lighthouse, and her brother and one of her friends are there, and they're staring at this thing.
Yeah,
that-
it's a melted light, right? So like the glass on the
Kinda.
light melted into like a spiral,
yeah,
which is
or
fucking
whatever
nuts
it
because the
was
glass has to
melted
burn
the
so
glass.
hot.
Yeah. So they're staring at the spiral and are freaked out, and then she realizes that the sun's about to set, meaning
Oh fuck, the light's
Uh-huh.
They
gone.
gonna die.
they gonna die. So
About to be a
she
microwave
says,
oven.
Let's get out of here. So they start running down the stairs, and the boy, Mitsuo's friend, trips, and doesn't quite
he-
make it. Let's
He
say that.
died.
Oh yeah, he got a little burnt.
So now we've figured out where all these charred bodies came from.
We figured out where all these charred boys came from.
Charboy,
Yeah.
charboy,
And I
charboy.
think, and it's such a great chapter. I think my favorite thing about it though is that after the next day they cart the bodies in there, including the body of the little boy. And the way that it ends is that they say the light still comes from the lighthouse. They'll demolish it someday.
Oh yeah, it's so good.
Ooh.
Spoiler alert: they don't demolish it.
Yeah, they don't demolish it. But
Yeah.
oh god,
And then on
the
to
next
do
chapter's
the
mosquitoes.
next two.
Oh, this one.
God.
Dude, mosquitoes and umbilical cord are my two all-time favorites of
Yeah.
this entire thing.
I really like this chapter.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
super
they're both-
fucked up and gross, but it's like the best scary chapters.
Yeah, like it's so very good.
Yeah, so I can't remember exactly how mosquitoes starts. I do know that people start complaining that there seem to be more mosquitoes than normal.
Yeah. Well, it starts with Carrie in the hospital because she got
Oh,
burnt
yeah.
coming down from the lighthouse.
She got a little toasty. So yeah, she's recovering. And at the same time, she mentions that the mosquitoes are pretty bad. People are complaining, and that for some reason there are more pregnant women than normal lately.
Well, so like they were talking about like mosquito columns were what Junji Ito noticed initially that started his kind of like descent into spirals to make this, right?
Descent into madness, yes.
But yeah, the pregnancies and the mosquitoes and
And so while Kiri's getting better in the hospital, eventually they tell her like, "Hey, you're gonna recover one day soon, so you should be good to go." I can't remember what happens. Something happens that makes her stay.
She hold on a second. So
Is it her cousin?
Does she get
or
bit
her?
by a bunch of mosquitoes? Is that what it is?
well, no. So her cousin is in the hospital as one of the pregnant.
Yeah, and they're
pregnant
like
women in the
sharing a
hospital.
room or something.
Yeah, they let's see what's happening here. Let me scroll through here.
Sorry. Live on the air. Fuck it, we'll do it live.
Live on the air. Shuichi's in there. He freaks out about the
Yeah,
mosquitoes.
Shuichi's like, "I'm just coming out of my house temporarily to come see you. I haven't
Yeah.
slept in 35 days."
Yeah. They say.
He looks
they
increasingly
bring-
warned, by the way. This guy is
Yeah.
he's a fucking bag of bones at this point.
Oh yeah. Then while they're talking, they bring her cousin in. They say, "There's a lot of people in here. We gotta share rooms. So we're gonna put your cousin in here with you." Shuichi's just like, I have a bad feeling about your cousin.
Yeah, who's
and,
wandering around just fucking getting women pregnant, by the way.
Right, exactly. It's very strange. And then he sees a mosquito, and then he flips out, pulls out a thing of bug spray, and sprays it. And then the nurse kicks him out because he's spraying this spray in front of a pregnant woman.
Which the pregnant woman freaks out a little bit too, which is
Yeah.
indicative.
Well, yeah. And then that night, she talks about how the Kyrie is like, "There's a mosquito in here. Be careful, it doesn't sting you." And then she says, "I'll be fine. I don't mind mosquitoes. I like mosquitoes. I love them."
Oh, yeah.
With her eyes like rolled in the back of her head.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
it's very creepy. She gets up. This is how she stays in the hospital. She gets up. She hears some noises in the middle of the night, and she peeks out of her room and sees an army of
Pregnant women.
bitten pregnant women walking zombie-like down the hallway, and they're holding these drills, these like hand drills, all of
God, I
them.
forgot.
She follows them. She follows one of them out and walks into one of the rooms and sees one of them drilling into this patient, biting into him to suck
the
his
blood.
blood.
Out. Yeah, and there's a bunch
then
of them doing this.
Yeah, and then she notices that Kyrie is watching her, freaks out, goes, "You saw," and starts chasing her. Kyrie trips and falls, and then she starts running away from all the pregnant women. And then
then like a
reason
nurse gets fucking killed in the process.
well, it's
too,
another
right?
patient.
Oh, yeah.
Kyrie yells for help, and then a patient peeks out and freaks out. They turn on him, and then she's able to escape. She hides. And then one of them is just like, "Oh, somebody saw." And then they turn around and see Kyrie trying to scramble away. Kyrie goes back into her room, but her cousin has a hand drill now too. And she's like, "What do I do?" She picks a thing of bug spray up and sprays it, and they all run away. And then that's how she the bug spray that Shuichi left behind. That's how she escapes essentially. The next morning, all of the pregnant women are just like, "Oh, la di da, look at our pregnant bellies." And the
Yeah,
hospital
everything's
room
fine.
is
LOL.
so normal.
Yeah, but they're complaining that their stomachs are hurting and stuff too.
Yeah. Yeah, they needed raw blood for their
Oh
babies.
my god. Ugh.
And this leads into
Umbilical
part
cord.
2 of this story, the umbilical cord,
Oh my god. Horror.
which horrific.
Yeah, so
It's
the
horrific.
doctor very excitedly is like, "Oh, we're delivering. Today's delivery day. All these women are giving birth at the same time. This isn't weird." And they go in. They don't let you see what's going on when they deliver the baby. And so they deliver the baby. They deliver a bunch of babies. All the babies are super healthy, like unreal amounts of healthy. And the doctors are like, "Oh wow, all these kids are coming out. They're super healthy. This is great." And then they start feeding the patients and the babies all these weird dishes that involve this like mushroom.
Yeah.
That has like, I think it has spirals on it as well on the design.
Definitely.
And Kiryi's like, "I'm not gonna eat that shit. Like, fuck that." But
she
everybody's
like
vegetarian.
she takes like a bite of it and then she says they taste like meat. And then there's like, don't be fussy, and she's just like, I'm not gonna
fine.
eat these.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so everybody's like, "These are great," and they're like obsessed. And so finally, for whatever reason, I think the baby, one of the babies is like fussy, and they're like, I guess you see the babies like talking telepathically about how they want to go back to the womb.
Yeah.
And
She notices that all the healthy babies have like this bulge
Oh yeah.
in
Yeah.
their belly.
Oh yeah. Oh,
Under
my
their
God,
clothes.
This is so gross.
Yeah.
And
it's
so
a
the
little
doctor
weird.
kind of disappears with her cousin, and
Well, when she sees the babies and they're talking to each other, like one of their onesies pops open and this like weird mushroom like grows out of its stomach. It's very
which
weird.
looks
and
akin
gross.
to the mushroom that they've been eating. And so she gets kind of weirded out by this, and so all of a sudden her cousin, when she goes back to her room, her cousin's gone. And she goes looking for her, and she finds the delivery room door open, I believe. And she goes in.
Well, no, she hears
like moaning,
her cousin's
like pain.
yeah.
So she goes in to check it out, and when she goes into the delivery room, the whole room is filled with these mushrooms.
Yeah.
And the doctor comes out of a side room looking really fucking creepy. And she's like, "What's going on? Like, who's in pain?" And he's like, "Oh, it's fine. Don't worry. Everything's fine now. Like, we got it all taken care of." And she's like, "Well, what are these mushrooms?" And he kind of gives this backstory where he's like, all these women were giving birth, and as we were pulling them out, we were kind of putting their placentas down wherever we could find because there were so many births happening. And all the placentas started growing this wonderful mushroom. And he starts getting, like, obsessed with this fucking mushroom. And he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna have a bite right now."
Yeah, and it's like this very gross close up of like his weird teeth, like chomping, like about to bite down on the edge of this mushroom.
And you see the nurses too, and like they look all fucked up and weird, and they're eating mushrooms. And she goes into the room where the screams are coming from, and she finds her cousin.
Yeah.
Oh God, sewn back up. They put the baby back inside of her.
Ugh.
And she's like, "My baby needs blood. My baby needs blood." And it's fucking nuts. And Kiryi's like, "I'm out, motherfucker."
She
Like,
goes mental at this point.
Well, the doctor holds her for her cousin, and her cousin like sticks her weird curly like mosquito tongue out and stabs the doctor.
Yeah,
in
instead
the
of
neck.
Kiryi.
Yeah, sucks his blood out and lets her escape.
Yeah, it drains him to be like fucking gaunt skeleton mode. And as Kiryi escapes, I think you can her cousin's like, "I need more blood for my baby," and like that's kind of where it gets left. And it's
all the people bust into the room, and that's when they see that the mushrooms are in there.
They start eating them.
And then Kirya's cousin starts attacking all the people eating the mushrooms, and then Kirya's like, "I escaped from the hospital. I don't know what happened."
Yeah,
there,
I've never.
but
I'm never going.
But I'm
back.
not going back. Yeah.
And then chapter 12, which is the storm, which is pretty good, but it's also kind of a weird non sequitur because, like, I kind of feel like from this point forward, like, Kiryi should have gotten the fuck out.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely.
But instead, Kiryi's like, "I'm going back to school, lol." And so there's this storm in town that is spiral shaped in the sky. It's a really bad storm. You hear about it on the news. They talk about how it's like the worst storm like in the history of this town. And for whatever reason, the storm shows up and does a shit ton of damage.
Well, it's like it's following Kirya.
Yeah, so that's kind of
this one
twist.
is pretty easy to like kind of like skim over because there's not a whole lot about it unless like there's not a whole lot to it. The storm, it's this crazy big storm, but you can see the eye from the sky,
and the eye is like perfectly centered over Kiryi all the time.
Yeah.
And so Kiryi keeps getting tricked to like come outside, and then the storm's like, "Haha, trick, I got you." And I believe is it Shuichi that kind of helps her with the storm as well.
Yeah, like it.
So they start running away. They like hide under like a tunnel, or they hide under an overpass. They go inside of the sewers to run away, and the storm creates like spirals in the sewer water.
Yeah.
I
Somebody
can't remember-
somebody comes outside to see if they need help, and the storm sucks it up and then spits them back down to the
Yeah,
ground
just
because they
fucking
thought it was
murders
Kyrie. Yeah, it thought it was Kyrie, and the storm's like calling for Kyrie, and like there's whirlpools in the sewer.
Yeah, and I can't remember, how does this one end?
The sewer kind of spits them up into the air,
Yeah.
and they landed in the pond.
Oh,
And
that's right.
they got pulled out of the pond by Kyrie's parents, and then
Doesn't the dad get sucked in or something?
no, not yet.
Okay.
That's later. The parents pull them out of the pond because they got spit up in the air, and both of them landed in the pond. They get pulled out of the pond by Kyrie's parents, and then after that, this hurricane disappears. But then here comes hurricane number 2.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it kind of ends on a whoa cliffhanger.
Yeah. And that is the end of volume 2.
Yeah, and then we go to the house. I believe this is when the families get displaced because their houses are destroyed. Is that right?
Yes, I believe so.
So this is when Kyrie's family gets moved to the row house. And we kind of learned
Yes.
we learned a little bit more lore about these row houses, which is that they've been around for forever, but for whatever reason they seem impervious to the storm. And if I remember correctly, this is also when they discover that, so a bunch of families get moved to this row house. They're very upset. They don't want to live here, but the real estate agent says there's nowhere else to go.
Yeah.
And they also can't leave the town either, I believe, is also established here. Maybe.
I'm not
Maybe
sure
not.
if that's...
Yeah.
It gets established very quickly.
Yeah.
It's pretty soon.
But effectively, her family gets stuck in this row house. They discover that there's this old woman living next door who's taking care of her sick son. The old woman and Kyrie's dad get these weird spiral warts on their body. Yeah. And one of their neighbors is very kind, but you discover that he's a little bit of a horn dog, and he's like creeping on Kyrie through the holes in the wall. Mm-hmm. And what you slowly start to discover is like even he gets the spiral warts, and then Kyrie wakes up one morning and her whole family has the spiral warts, and they're in pain a lot, and they realize that I think it's the old woman who dies.
Her son
dies, and she's like mourning, and whenever they try to take care of the woman, she's just covered in this shit.
Yeah.
And I believe she eventually dies as well.
Yeah. Well, they took her to the hospital. But you don't really ever find out what happened to her.
Yeah, and then eventually this creepy neighbor who's being really pervy bursts through the wall and is just a fucking horn monster. And the pain is like insufferable for him and her whole family. Kyrie's whole family is like all fucked up and covered in these things. And I'm trying to remember exactly what happens. Like, does he just die from the warts?
Well, so I think he comes through and he's like trying to assault
Kyrie.
Kyrie, and
this is all during hurricane number 2.
Yeah, during a hurricane. I think the door swings open and like a metal like a rod like pierces him through this head and he dies.
Yeah, I can't remember how this one ends. Do you guys remember?
I think that's how it ends. This is him dead on the ground.
Nice, and then we get to.
So the ending little frame says, not long after hurricane number 2 and its roar were sucked into Dragonfly Pond, we crawled our way out of the row house and our skin disease soon went away. Mysteriously.
Mm-hmm. And then cue butterflies. I can't remember. Is this the one with the TV
So this
team?
is the row house story. The house is kind of where they start to connect together and like start ramping up for the end game.
Yeah.
Because like all the stuff is starting to connect together and starting to stop being like a monster of the week story and starts becoming more like a connected story.
So it's like more and more families at this point, I think, start to move into the row houses. Is that true?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think so, because the hurricanes are just like steadily destroying houses after like a bunch of houses, and the row houses again are the only things that are staying standing.
Yeah.
And it's attracting a lot of like
TV attention and like
media attention.
Supporters.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So you got media people coming there, and then like eventually like rescue missions start going, and so this town is like super populated. That starts getting super populated over the course of the next couple of chapters.
Yeah, is this the one where we meet the TV anchor?
Yeah.
Yeah, this news crew is driving through the tunnel to get to the get to the town, and then they get
Yeah, they
essentially
encounter.
assaulted.
Well, they encounter
by a
all the
tornado.
fucked up cars and stuff too, right?
Not yet. Though they get attacked by a twister essentially first as they're driving down the road, and the twister like uproots their van, and then she
It kills some of her team too, right?
I think I'm not sure if they were dead or if like they were just really hurt, but she's the only conscious one, so she crawls out of the house. Her cell phone's not getting reception, so she tries to call for help, and she's like she goes into the town. That's when she sees all of the cars, and she walks into town, and the town is just completely destroyed,
Except for the row houses.
well, except for the row houses,
And I think the
everything's,
lighthouse. I think the lighthouse is still up.
demolished. It might be. I don't think you see the lighthouse at this point in the story, but I'm sure it probably is.
Yeah, I
because,
think in like the
of
final
course.
frame of the town, I think you do see the lighthouse still.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
But yeah, so is this when she encounters the two boys?
Yeah, she's walking through
this is
the
so
rubble,
fucked
and
up.
she just sees like the dragonfly pond, like it's all spirally and swirly, and then she sees these three boys tied up on these stakes, like their mouths are like tied shut, and they're tied like lashed to these stakes with ropes, and she helps them down. And then she asks them, like, what's going on here? Who did this to you? And then they start walking away, and then she calls after them, and then they essentially create a hurricane with their like a giant windstorm with their mouths.
Yeah, if you speak too loudly or if you move too quickly, you'll create these tornadoes.
Yeah, you find that out here. Sure, Kyria explains that to her, but like they're essentially just like, oh, we want to play with this woman, and they just decide to start
like terrorizing
her with this wind, and eventually she yells at them and yells no at them, and then she blows them away, and she's very surprised that she created this tornado, and then she is found by Kyrie and Mitsuo, and she explains that who she is. She's a reporter from Toyo Television, and
she used to cover wars. Yeah, and she discovers that everybody's just piled into these fucking houses, like immense amounts of people.
Yeah, Kyrie explains about moving too fast or making too loud of a noise will create a hurricane.
Oh yeah, and Kyrie's family doesn't live in the row houses, right? They live like underneath the wreckage of their old home or something.
Well,
they
live
out.
They live in the row house, but like they get pushed out eventually, because the row houses keep getting more crowded and crowded. But they did start off in the row houses. Well, not start off, but like at the beginning of this chapter.
Yeah, and there's more and more people that they're encountering. They're like encountering like rescue crews that get abandoned, like ships that try to bring relief get sucked up by the fucking storm. It's wild.
And then these boys show up, and they're completely like beat up because they got blown away by the hurricane.
Oh, one of them's dead. I thought the boys like you killed one of my friends.
He killed one of them, and then they like create a hurricane, and she ducks underneath them, and they go into the row house, and then of course they can't destroy the row house because the row houses are invincible to all these hurricanes and stuff like that. So then they the people in the row house peek through the holes, and they all create wind and essentially blow the boys away and essentially kill the boys. Oh no, they don't kill them, they blow them away, and then they learn how to ride the fucking tornadoes.
Oh yeah, and that becomes
like
a whole
butterflies.
thing.
Yeah, they're wheeling around like butterflies.
Yeah, and is that the way that it ends? Because then the next
that's how
one
it ends.
starts up with like a bunch of dudes just fucking riding this shit.
Yeah.
Roger, Wilco.
Yeah, so
Prepare for attack.
Yeah, a bunch of boys just start learning how to do this shit, and so it becomes straight up anarchy, right? You just have like these gangs of roving hurricane riders, just like fucking.
And then you
demolishing.
And then you also find out that people are also turning into snails.
Yeah, because they move too slow.
Yeah, because people who are moving too slow so as to not make the wind turn into snails.
Yeah, which I will say, if you do give this like a very intellectual read, I think there is a reading of this that is kind of about like our ever-changing world and like two young people trying to have a normal life in like a world that is constantly changing and like struggling against this change that's bigger than they are. Because you've got these roving packs of madmen, but then it's also this cool metaphor of like if you move too slow, you become a snail, and if you move too fast, you create a hurricane. So you almost have to have this like perfect moderation. It's interesting. But yeah, so these roving packs of like lunatics are like killing people. They're like eating snail people.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually, I think they try to like kind of again sexually assault the TV anchor and Kiryu.
So they find like one of the people in the row house finds this like map,
Oh, that's right.
and it has a big old spiral on it.
It's
And
like
so
an
they're
old
"What
map of
fuck
the
is
town,
this?"
right?
Yeah, and then it looks like an old map of the town. It's very weird, and then everybody gets.
Oh, and it's
so,
implied these row houses have been around for like centuries as well.
Yeah. So people are getting really tense, and then Shuichi's just like muttering the word "mad." Everything's mad, and they get real mad at him and throw him out. And then everybody, Kiryu's family, and the reporter follow him out, and then they're just like, "You're not allowed to come in anymore." So they kick them out, and that's when they start living on their own. And this is when they confirm that you can't escape the town because the reporter tried going back through the tunnel and it didn't end, and she got turned around.
Yeah, it like went on
So
forever.
that's when so that's when they smell these guys have been cooking something up, and
Yeah,
they
everybody's
cook
running
the
out of food
snails.
too because there's no way to find food.
Yeah, so they cook and eat the snails, and then
They're very like perverse about these descriptions. They're like, "Oh, it's so
very,
gooey
very-
and tasty and blah 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 blah."
Yeah, it's very gross. But they get into this fight. They blow. This is when the dad gets blown away. They blow the dad away, and they don't really. I don't think they find the dad again, do they?
I think they find him
No.
towards the end. I think Kiryu finds her parents.
Yeah.
At the bottom.
That
Oh,
was,
yeah,
that
at the
was
bottom.
her goal. She was
Yeah,
trying
she
to
like
find her
steps on their
parents.
faces.
Yeah. Like she finds them at the very end, but like up until then, like they never find the dad again after he gets blown
Right.
away. And
I think the implication is that he got blown into the pond, and then the pond
yeah,
sucks
I
him
think
in.
so. Because the next couple of things that happen, they get into this like wind fight with the weird Roger Wilco guys, and this is supposed to be like this big dramatic thing. Can I tell you? I think this is one of the funniest fucking things in the entire manga.
Why?
They're just like, oh no, and Kiryu is holding hands with the reporter because they're gonna get blown into Dragonfly Pond, and they're like, what are we gonna do? And then you see the shadow appear that grabs Kiryu's arm, who is grabbing onto the reporter, and then this person grabs onto a power line, and it's Shuichi, and he's
Fucking
just got the
ninja
most
Shuichi,
pained.
dude.
He's just got the most pained, just exhausted expression on his face. It's fucking hilarious. And these wind riders get sucked into the pond, and Shuichi saved them from dying. It's just like, it's supposed to be this big dramatic thing, and it's fucking hilarious, I think.
Is it
personally.
this book, or is it the next one where we encounter the guy who's like, I got an idea, let's expand the row houses?
I think it might be either the next one, either 16 or 17.
I think
can't
17 is
remember.
when they try to start leaving.
Okay.
So 16 is like, if I remember correctly, they are back at the row houses that's super packed. This one's all about like there's nowhere to go.
Yeah. So this is just like the beginning of it's just chronicling all the people who have attempted to escape, and then they get either killed or they can't escape. And
people in the row
Kiryu's
houses start to
family-
like live on top of each other, like they're like up in the rafters.
Oh,
and
they.
shit.
Oh, it's gross. It's
Yeah.
so full and packed that they start to like get disembodied and
Yeah, and they
or
all get curled together.
disfunct-
They become like
disformed.
little
Yeah.
spaghetti monsters.
spaghetti.
It's very
monsters.
like crazy and gross. They meet this like party of people, and they're trying to get into the row house, but then like these kids stick their head out of the thing and
Yeah,
blow
they're like,
them
can
away.
you,
And
yeah. And I know later on too, like people start to ask them to like, hey, can you take care of this? They're starting to smell, and they'll put like
Yeah, like the
wiggly
dead
people
people.
out.
yeah, that's like in chapter like 19 or 18 or 19. I
Yeah,
think.
it's really gross. And one of the dudes who looks like he's wearing like a green hoodie or something, he's like, we can do this, it'll be fine. And so he starts to come up with the idea that like we need to expand these row houses. And I think it's around this time that the reporter and Kiryu and Shuichi and her brother, Kiryu's brother, that they're like, fuck, we got to figure something out.
Yeah, because like these guys, like this group of people that they met, like they start eating the snails and kind of going crazy a little bit.
Yeah.
And
Is this the one, is Erosion 16, is this the one when they start to leave and then they encounter the dudes again?
no, that's I think that's
17.
17. I think.
So how
yeah.
does this one end?
This one ends.
Oh no. Yeah,
This one ends. Yeah, well, this one ends with like their mom got blown away, and then they realize that that Mitsuo is turning into a
that's
snail.
right.
Snail.
That's right.
Yeah,
So then 17, they decide they definitely have to escape.
yeah,
Yeah.
because they have to save Mitsuo, and they start going up into the forest to see if they can escape. And
That's when they encounter like the dudes, and they've been like, we've been fucking walking for weeks. It feels like, and the dudes are like, we just saw you.
yeah. So as they're going up, they see this guy, Mr. Tenzaki, who's now expanding the row houses. And he's just kind of like adding some wood onto the ends, and they're walking through these woods. They meet these guys, and they're essentially carting along their friend who is turning into a snail, and they're just like, we're just holding on to him so when he turns into a snail we can eat him.
Yeah,
you know.
and it's like, oh fuck, and then they eat him raw. Like I don't even think they
Yeah.
cook him.
Oh, this is the
One of the
grossest
dudes like
thing.
crawls in, and he's like, "Oh, it tastes so good and warm," and like,
Yeah.
ugh. And then
Yeah,
eventually
it's
they're like,
fucking
"We got to get the fuck out of here. This is fucked up." So they start wandering in the woods for a while. And the craziest shit is when they're trying to escape these dudes. They mimic back to what I just said as a joke, where they're like, "My brother's got a backpack. He's not a snail man." And Shuichi's like, "All right, come on, we can fool him." And by the time they get back to the town, Row House dude has built like a fucking spiral labyrinth.
Yeah.
So I guess
Indicative of
time has
the
also
map.
Yeah.
Well, so
Maybe
before
I'm
they
getting
get back
ahead.
to the
I'm sorry.
town. Well, before they get back to the town, these guys realize that Mitsuo is turning into a snail.
Yeah, and they're like, yum yum yum.
Yeah, because his eyes, they're trying to like his eyes start bulging out, and they
God.
poke his eyes back into his head,
God,
and like
poor boy.
yeah, and then it starts turning into the fact they can't hide it. So then they run to the edge of this cliff, and they're just like, "You gotta go!" Like they tell Mitsuo is like, "Can you crawl down the cliff?" And like he doesn't say anything, but like I guess Kiryu can understand him.
Yeah, and I guess somebody
can.
don't they dress somebody up like her brother?
No, he keeps the cloth.
Oh,
over
that's
his
right.
back,
That's right. That's right.
And he's like, pretend he's still on my back.
Yeah, and he's like, oh,
Yeah.
he's so heavy.
Yeah, and then the one guy remembers what it felt like to like curl up in the shell, and he turns into a spiral. They all start turning into spirals and then freaking the fuck out. So they're just like, we gotta go.
Yeah.
While these guys are just like contorting and dying essentially, and then they get back to the town, and then chapter 18 is the labyrinth, where you come back to the town and all the row houses. The town is just this huge fucking spiral. at
Yeah,
this point.
which implies too that like time is also spiraling. Mm-hmm. And
Yeah.
so they come back, and all this time has passed, and this is when you encounter the row houses that are like so full that they're spitting people out that are all fucking gross. And the people even complain. They're like, "We're getting contorted together in here, and like we don't know where one person ends and the other person begins."
Yeah, Kiryu is like asking this very like this spaghetti conglomeration of people.
The Spaghetti Factory.
Yeah, the spaghetti of gross.
Ew.
Asking about her parents, and everybody she talks to is like, why would we know about your parents anyway? Take care of this dead body. And they like spit the dead ones out.
Yeah, and they run into the guy who's doing the repairs, and he's still
Yeah,
fine.
and he's all like revenant, like fucking bearded up.
Oh yeah, he's like, "Oh, I remember you guys. You look like no days have passed."
Yeah.
And they're just like, "We need to get to the center of the spiral to figure out what the fuck's going on." And he's like, "Well, you need to follow the row houses and just kind of work your way down." So they are kind of going throughout the row houses to work their way down.
They pass through the row houses and they go through.
Oh, and they start to like conjoin on the inside and trap people.
Yeah.
Ugh! Don't they trap the reporter?
Yeah, they get the reporter, and so she's dead. So it's
She
just
becomes
Kiryu and
Spaghetti Man.
Suichi at this point. Yeah, and so they get into a row house that's completely empty because like what was in it like dumped out.
Yeah, that's when they start
Into
discovering that
this-
these houses are like making food for something.
And it's leading down into this pit that is that what was Dragonfly Pond. So the pond, like the pond is completely drained, and it's just like this spiral staircase going down.
Yeah, and around this time, the final row house gets completed, and I think that's when the pond drains.
Yeah, and like because everybody is like, we're connected, we're all connected here, we're connected here too, and then that's when they find the
Yeah,
stairs going
and that's
down.
also when all the houses flush.
Yeah.
So as soon as they all get connected, all the fucking houses just shunt everybody into the hole.
Yeah.
Which is fucking
so they're
disgusting.
all empty, and they find the staircase, and they're just like, my parents have to be down there, and then it's like Shuichi's just like, we're gonna go down there together, and they hold hands as they start walking down.
And that's where the
then,
last chapter starts, right? 19.
Yeah, chapter 19 completion.
And this one's kind of short, if I remember correctly, because like
Yeah,
I
it ended.
I don't think there's any
it ended
conflict.
pretty soon.
Yeah.
After
it's very quick. Like they run into, as they're walking down, they run into this like spaghetti person who appears to be dead. But then they're just like, hey, no, you have to take me with you. There's something wonderful down there. And then starts like going after, like grabby hands, like,
Oh yeah, I
Like
forgot
bites
about
her.
that.
bites Kyrie, and then Shuichi's like, man, fucking bitch, and then starts fighting with the person, and then they fight and they fall into the pit together, and then I'm just like, they really, after all this shit, that's how they're gonna kill my man Shuichi. I was upset, but
yeah,
no,
baby,
it's
they fall forever.
Yeah, not even.
It's so
yeah,
long.
they do. It's a very deep pit, but she keeps walking down, and you get like this fucking crazy like spiral tower shot. It's insane.
Dude, it's like some fucking for real, some Cthulhu like cities under the ground insanity.
Oh, yeah.
And you see that there's a giant spiral at the base in the center that's just like I think Kiri describes it like it's beckoning her to come.
Yeah.
So you kind of understand that like this is the force that's been doing this.
Yeah.
And
core
she
of it
discovers
all.
that the floor is just lined with humans, some of which have like fossilized, like crystallized into like a solid material.
Yeah.
And so she falls, and that's when she finds her family. She finds her two parents.
They're all coiled up and fossilized, and she starts crying, and then Shuichi calls out for her.
He's like, "Hey, girl,"
and he's just
I'm
like,
good.
Yeah, he's like, no, he's like, hey, baby girl, I can't walk anymore. But look at
'cause
this
his
thing.
legs are
Look at these
fucked up.
ruins. It's kind of like they're living, and it has a will of its own. And
Yo, girl, look at these ruins. It looks like they're
look at
living.
these ruins. And then Shuichi figures out, he's like, well, I think what happens is every like hundreds of or thousands of years, it could reach the people above ground, and it can essentially curse them and like make them lose their fucking minds. So all the remnants of the row houses are like houses that were built during this like fucking crazy shit.
Yeah, like
And then
last time this happened.
Yeah, and then they essentially, it's this like crazy spiral creature essence presence Cthulhu Lovecraft monster who is trying to like feed on all the people in the town, and then as people forget about it, the town populates again, they rebuild, and then the same stuff happens all over again.
Yeah, this happens in cycles.
And then Shuichi goes, you gotta go, I can't run away anymore, you have to keep going. And then Kiryu's just like, I can't run anymore either, I'm staying with you. And then Shuichi reaches out his hand to her, and she grabs his hand, and then they coil together.
Yeah, facing each other.
And then presumably that's the end of them.
Yeah, the huge coil in the center like raises up and completes the giant coil on the outside of the town. And
then the water kind of rushes in and surrounds the town. You are correct. You see the lighthouse.
Still up.
And then there's just like a narration that says, it said, and with the spiral complete, a strange thing happened. Just as time had sped up when we were on the outskirts, in the center of the spiral, it stood still. So the curse was over the same moment that it began, the endless frozen moment that I spent in Shuichi's arms. And it will be the same moment when it ends again, when the next Kurozucho is built where the ruins of the old one once lay, when the eternal spiral awakens once more.
yeah, so I'm assuming that's Kiryu talking at the end.
Yeah, that's what it seems like. Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy. So yeah, that's it essentially. Like,
I like
it
that.
ends on this like beautiful moment where they're just sort of like there together forever.
Yeah. And then there's this like lost chapter.
Oh yeah, let's talk about this.
Called Galaxies.
So yeah, so this is sort of the bonus content. This one's actually really cool.
It's very cool.
Yeah, so
It's very bizarre, but it's super cool.
yeah, so essentially, I guess we kind of find out that like Shuichi's got like a astronomy hobby.
Yeah,
I
he's got a
think.
telescope.
And so they're
That's
looking
about
through,
it.
Yeah, they're looking through a telescope. That's about it. they're looking through a telescope, and Shuichi notices this like weird thing in the sky that they've never noticed before, which is like this like galaxy far away that looks kind of close and is spirally. And he immediately is like, I don't want to fucking deal with this. And Kyrie's like, we got to report your finding. And he's like, no, I'm good. Don't tell anybody. But she goes and she tells the astronomers or whatever in town. And then they look into it and they're like, oh, fuck. And then they get more and more obsessed with it. And eventually the astronomer kind of says, like, hey, Shuichi, like, I know this is yours. And I think they even call it, like, the Shuichi Galaxy or something. They're like, I know this is yours, but would you let me take it? I want this to be, like, my find.
And he's just like, yeah, I don't want anything
Yeah,
to do with
Shuichi's
this
like, leave me the fuck
spiral.
alone. Like, duh, go for it. But then it becomes this crazy thing where Kirie doesn't realize that that's what's been happening. And so she says, like, that's Shuichi's. Like, how fucking dare you? And so the guy goes crazy. He's like, it's mine. It's all mine. Like, it's speaking to me. It's speaking to me. It's telling me to kill you. And so what ends up happening, though, is this spiral enables it to where everybody in the town can hear each other's thoughts. Mm-hmm. And more of these galaxies start populating. And so everybody can hear each other's thoughts, and they start hearing thoughts of, like, just murderous thoughts. And the astronomer guy, like, kills somebody else, I believe. And everybody, like, the town can hear
Well, people are, like, killing each other. So he goes to Shuichi's house, and Shuichi's like, look, man, I don't want it. You can have it. And Kirie's just like, well, I was really the one who discovered it, so it's mine. And I say it's Shuichi's. So then she has a moment where he tries to kill her.
Yeah.
And he almost gets her, and then the galaxies become visible to the naked eye in the sky.
Yeah, and then everybody starts to fucking freak out. And so the noise of everyone's thoughts make it to where, like, this dude can be a fucking murderous prick because nobody can suss out his thoughts from anybody else's. And so he starts to hunt Kirie. And I cannot remember what is the fate that befalls this man. Something tragic happens.
Oh, you know.
Oh, you know. Do you wanna go over this one, Isaac?
Well, to backtrack, they tell all the kids in the school, they're like, "Hey, Shuichi found this a new discovery, a new galaxy, whatever. So get out your telescopes and look into the night sky, whatever."
Yeah.
And they see
and
all.
That's where all the craze starts happening.
Yeah, they find more galaxies, like you said.
Yeah, and they're like, "It's mine. I named this one." This one's mine.
And so I think these galaxies are enabling all these kids to battle for whoever discovered that galaxy first, and enabling them to like murder each other for it in a way. And that's the same thing that happened to this astronomer guy, and he wants to kill Kyrie, I guess. Why did he want to kill Kyrie?
That's why. So what I was saying was Shuichi like gave it up, and then she's very upset about.
She's
the
still
fact
upset.
That, like,
okay.
So she's just like, well, I discovered it, so I say
that's
Shuichi's.
right. She's
yeah.
like, well, I was the second one to know about it, so if anything, I should have it.
Right, it should
be
default.
mine.
She was the second one, so it should default to me, if not Shuichi. And so he thinks he has to kill her to get credit for it.
Yeah.
But what ends up happening is like his killing attempt is botched.
Well, it's not botched. Like it. He's on top of her with a knife, and then she goes, and then all the galaxies are visible in the sky. And he turns around, like he sees her face like flip out, and he's like, "What the fuck?" And he turns around, and then he freaks out, and he's just like, "Oh, this is wonderful! I'm the first human to see these with my naked eye. I've discovered this, and if I am right, if I was the first human to see this, the galaxies need to send me a signal. Send me all your transmissions."
Oh, and don't they like fucking blow him up from space?
Well, essentially, like they essentially like inflate his head, and he just like explodes.
Well, then he becomes another galaxy.
Yeah, he becomes a galaxy in the sky. Yeah.
Creepy.
His head turned into a small galaxy and flies off into the sky.
Oh no!
And then the National Astronomical Observatory is just like, none of these galaxies were actually confirmed, and then they were never seen in the town again. And that's how it ends.
Yeah, it's super good. But yeah,
I love the frame when he's getting beamed up and his head literally just inflates. It's just like this massive head on this body.
So goofy.
It was really goofy.
And that's
Oh,
Uzumaki.
man.
There's a really funny, if you've got the omnibus, I don't know if it's in the scans, that you get like an afterword that's sort of like a story of Junji Ito and his publisher, like pitching the story of Spirals and like going on trips together on the plane to talk about it. It's super funny, but it's like Junji Ito narrating himself and drawing himself about like pitching the story of Uzumaki.
Oh, that's cool.
It's pretty cool. But it just ends with like him getting like him getting obsessed with Spirals and his publisher getting obsessed with Spirals, and then him being like, "This is kind of weirding me out, so I'm gonna stop now and just finish my book." It's really funny. But yeah, that's Uzumaki. How did you guys feel about it?
Creeped me out.
Yeah, it was very disturbing. It was very upsetting. But
also kind of positive.
It was a very artfully done book. I think Junji Ito is a fucking madman genius.
Yeah.
It's a good book. It's a very good manga.
Yeah, I love it. The copy that I have of Uzumaki just like sits on my shelf in my downstairs by the TV now, so it's like it's displayed front and center. It sucks that Naruto's last name is also Uzumaki because like it makes it very hard to search for things on Google.
So the funny thing, so my roommate is very much into anime and stuff like that. And so when I asked him if he had heard, he's also a big anime person, not so much a manga person. But when I asked him if he'd ever heard of Uzumaki, he actually legitimately said to me, he said Naruto, and I was like,
no.
Yeesh.
Yeah, so.
No. But yeah. So anyway, final thoughts is it's a recommendation. If you can get it, seek it the fuck out. I think the hardcover omnibus is about like $30, $27, something like that on Amazon. I don't know if there's like a digital version. It's really hard to get. Like you can get comics through Comic Zone or whatever the fuck it's called. Comixology. And that's pretty easy because it can bind to your Amazon account. But I don't know if there's like an easy way to find manga and read it like an e-reader format. So I would just recommend if you find it, snatch it up. Again, I know it's like $30, but the book is really, really well produced and worth it. And I know that a lot of Junji Ito's other books have been collected in hardcover fashion in the same way. So if you've got a penchant for this guy's writing, you can start a cool little collection that's a nice showpiece. But Isaac, how'd you feel about it? Final thoughts.
I really liked it. It fell into my liking for or my realm of comics. It was nice and concise, and it brought everything together, and it was so creepy, and I was scared to death. But
it's cool when like drawings can be scary.
Oh yeah, for sure. It was super creepy. But I think that's what I like.
Like it makes you uncomfortable to look at.
Yeah.
Like especially like I still like the most harrowing.
It's one of those things that you like flip back to it too, though. Like you're like, I'm uncomfortable looking at this, but I can't look away.
Well, yeah, that was the thing. Like I did that a couple times. Like I like in the umbilical cord chapter where you get a like shot of her cousin like all like sewn up and everything like that. I flipped past it. I was just like, oh fuck. But I was just like, is that? Oh my god! And I flipped away from it. It's like, no, he didn't actually. Oh my god! Like, you find yourself like doing that to yourself. It's rough.
Yeah. Hell yeah. Yeah, definitely check it out, dude. Pro manga read. Yeah. So that's.
Have you guys read any of his other?
No, I hear
mangas?
Gyo is really good.
I feel like I need to seek some of his stuff out now after having read Uzumaki. Yeah.
Uzumaki.
Yeah, I definitely would. I would and I will. And I will report back if I read any of his other things.
Yeah.
Nice. Let's get into plugs.
Hey.
So yeah, if you're listening to this, thank you so very much. If you're on the early patron feed, then enjoy this episode early. We're finally back to early recordings. You should be getting 2 extra ops, minimum 1, possibly 2, around the same time that you get this. So you should enjoy that. Let us know what you think. If you are in the main feed, you won't be getting those extra ops for a few weeks now, but you will enjoy them when you get them. We are talking to our special correspondent. I will save the formalities and introductions for those episodes, but we are talking to our special correspondent about the female perspective on Metal Gear, which will be very, very cool. We're very excited to talk to her. The second extra op, episode 4, if we get to it, is still yet undetermined, so I don't want to say anything, but we are leaning more towards talking about sort of cinematography in Metal Gear and Metal Gear movies, or potentially something else. So that'll be a fun bonus as well. But yeah, you can get all episodes early, including some experimental content for $2 plus a month. $5 plus a month, you can, and this is all on Patreon, by the way, $5 plus a month, you can get us to read your 150-word special message. We had a couple of those last episode on Silent Hill 2. And for $10 plus a month, you get extra videos. You get a bunch of video content. So thank you videos, editing videos, and how we put the podcast together, video updates. Sam's showing off Instagram edits. It's a lot of fun. So if you want to support us, Metal Gear Mondays, it's patreon.com/Metal Gear Mondays, or you can go to MetalGearSolidPodcast.com. But yeah, I am going to plug AC Summerfield on Twitter. Could
you say Twitter again for
on
me?
Twitter. And you can go to acsummerfield.com, which I was supposed to finish updating tonight, October the 17th at 1:39 in the morning, but I am more than likely going to fall asleep as soon as we get done. Sam, where can people find you?
People can find me on Twitter at Sangel. That's basically it.
JamesReichmuth.com.
Yeah, you can follow me on JamesReichmuth.com. You can follow me on Twitter at James Reichmuth as well. We got to give our boy love, even though he's not here.
Oh, yeah. You follow me on IsaacLim.com as well.
Yep.
Yeah, buddy.
That's for some really good Christian music.
Yep.
IsaacLim.com. But yeah, I like my Twitter. I do fun stuff.
Oh, shirt
there,
store.
so.
What is it? bit.ly/.
bit.ly/MGM store. You buy shirts. We got pillow in there. It's just a box.
We got pillow.
It's just a box. We got an pillow.
Yeah, somebody bought one.
Yeah. Was it who was it?
I can't remember.
Somebody bought it.
Oh no!
Oh, I think it was.
Insert name here.
It was.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, it was.
We thank this person when it happened.
The bottom of our
heart. Our collective heart.
Yeah, because what you don't know is we're all spiraled together recording this episode.
Yeah, we share one heart.
Love it.
We did thank that person. I'm sorry. My brain is functioning very slowly.
Our brains are
right now,
spirals.
So I apologize for not remembering your name, but thank you for buying that pillow.
We have spirals on our brains, you guys.
Oh God, there's spirals in our ears.
Oh.
You're listening to. Don't stab your ear out, because how are you going to listen to our podcast?
Exactly. Isaac, where can people find you?
Isaac. Wait, where? Doesn't have a twit.
Isaac.
Very nice.
Where can people follow you, Isaac? Isaac.
Come follow me.
Very nice. Come follow Isaac in Eastern Daylight Time, where it is 2:41 in the morning. Holy shit!
It's almost 3 o'clock.
Yeah, we gotta go. I gotta drive home still. Anyway, we're coming up on another
Sam's
long
sitting pretty
episode.
on a midnight run.
Oh yeah, Sam's fucking coasting over there. It's like 11:41.
Yeah, I'm pretty good.
Yeah, Sam's like, let's do a third.
But I'm old now, so I go to bed at like 9.
Yeah, I go to bed at like 10:30 usually. So this is crucifying me.
I'm feeling it right now. So
yeah. Well, on that note, I don't know. We've done 81 of these now. 80 of these.
It's just a box.
Thank you, Sam.
Just a box.